It's time for Twit This Week in Tech. Ben Brock Johnson is here from WBUR in Boston. Larry Magid from, well, I'm proud to say it, the BBC World Service, and an old friend. And Davindra Hardware, senior editor at Engadget. Lots to talk about. Davindra is the only person I've talked to who actually likes the new Microsoft Duo phone. Well, aside from me, we'll talk about that. Apple versus WordPress, Apple versus Epic. Mark Zuckerberg, does he have too much power? And the zero-day exploit that Microsoft didn't fix for 2 whole years. All that's coming up next on Twit. This Week in Tech comes to you from Twit's LastPass Studios. You're focused on security, but are your employees? LastPass can ensure they are by making access and authentication seamless, whether employees are working in the office or remotely. Visit lastpass.com/twit to learn more.
Podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
This is Twit, This Week in Tech, episode 785, recorded Sunday, August 23rd, 2020. Vote before the asteroid hits. This episode of This Week in Tech is brought to you by ZipRecruiter. Hiring is challenging, especially with everything else you have to consider today. But there's one place where hiring is simple, fast, and smart. That place is ZipRecruiter. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/twit. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And by Mint Mobile. Mint Mobile provides the same premium network coverage you're used to, but at a fraction of the cost because everything is online. Mint Mobile makes it easy to cut your wireless bill down to just $15 a month with their 3-month introductory plan. And you can get the plan shipped to your door free at mintmobile.com/twit. And by Salesforce Service Cloud. Salesforce Service Cloud is the world's #1 customer service platform that empowers organizations to deliver service from anywhere, home, in the office, or in the field. Go to bit.ly/Salesforce for service to find out more. And by Monday.com. Monday.com is a flexible platform to manage any team, project, or workflow online. Collaborate, plan, and track everything your team is working on, wherever you are. To start your free 14-day trial, go to monday.com/twit. It's time for Twit This Week in Tech, the show where we cover the week's tech news. I haul in a bunch of accomplished, talented journalists to ruin their reputations on this show each week. Some of them actually come back, like Davindra Hardware. We've just established this is more than your 7th year on the show. Something like that.
Oh, man. It's been a while, but I love coming back every time. Thanks
love
for
having you. Senior editor at Engadget. He's no longer a Brooklyn hipster.
Still a hipster, I guess, yeah.
Well, if you're in Peachtree Gardens? What is it?
Peachtree Corners. Everything is Peachtree in Georgia and near Atlanta, but I'm in Georgia, right outside of Atlanta, in Peachtree Corners, which is a cute little suburb right below the river there.
Do they have artisanal pickle makers in Peachtree Corners?
There are a lot. There are breweries. It's all the stuff in Brooklyn, and actually a lot of great international food too, because it's a huge immigrant population down here. So amazing food. In effect, amazing Korean and Chinese and everything.
You took Brooklyn with you, so that's good.
Yeah, it's a state of mind.
It's hotter than hell there, right?
It is, but I think actually New York was hotter for a while. Some nights I was talking to some friends. It was like near mid-90s at night,
and
as the sun was setting.
Yuck, I hate it.
But yeah, it's always hot here in general.
Yeah. Well, it's great to have you, Davindra, and congratulations on the move. I think that's great. Larry,
it was a trip. Yeah,
it was a trip. Did you do like the Jodes and get a pickup truck, put all your furniture in the back, Granny sitting on the rocking chair in the back seat?
It's a long story. The move, essentially, we were packing up until the movers came, which is not what you want to be doing, and then we missed our first flight. And it's tough. So we flew during COVID with a baby and 2 cats, and it was not fun.
You flew with cats?
Flew with cats.
My wife always says, if we have fires right now, she says, if we have to evacuate, you and Michael go in one car, I'll go in another car with the cats. She said, no one should have to suffer with the cats.
They're fine in their cages.
Did you sedate them?
A little bit. They just like freaked out.
Kitty
they
brandy.
Just, like, yeah. They like basically went to a state of shock and anxiety and just like didn't move. But they were right under our seats during the flights. It was all a nightmare.
Sounds horrible. Sounds like a nightmare. But you're there now, and the cats, are they acclimated?
They're great. They love having a whole house to run around. No longer like a cramped apartment and everything.
Yeah. And you haven't let them out yet because they'll run away. They'll try to get back to Brooklyn.
Maybe. They're too scared to go outside. We have a nice little deck, and they're too scared to even go out there now.
They're terrified.
They're terrified.
That's awesome. Also with us, Larry Magid, who has also made a little bit of a move of sorts. Yeah. Last time you were here, you just left CBS News Radio. You are now a regular on BBC, the World Service, as well as I see you on Forbes all the time, and he's at connectsafety.org.
Yeah, I'm on World News Television, which is very interesting, going from radio to television. I look much better on radio than I do on TV, but, you know, you do what you have to do.
But I see you've upgraded your wardrobe for the television.
Oh, absolutely. Classy here. Well, I upgraded my wardrobe for you, Leo. If this were BBC, I would literally be wearing a suit coat and a tie and a shirt over my shorts.
Yeah.
And now because it's you, I'm wearing a short sleeve shirt over my shorts.
And then you get the baby come in the room in the little wheelie thing, and the wife comes.
If I had a baby, I would say that. My wife does come in.
Great to see you, Larry.
Good to see you, yeah.
And also from WBUR in Boston, where he is now the executive producer for podcasts, Mr. Ben Brock Johnson. Hey, Ben.
Hello, it's good to be back. Coming to you from wicked awesome Pissa Dunkin' Donuts. I'm not, I don't have Davindra's peach association, but, I can give you that.
Baston. You got the Baston.
Yeah. That's right. That's right.
That's awesome.
Good to see you.
He's actually not from Boston directly. You commute in from Western Massachusetts, and it turned out that all three of this panel has lived in your neighborhood, your neck of the woods at one time or another. Davindra for college. Larry, when did you live there? When you were?
Oh, I lived there from like 72 to 81. Wow. I got my doctorate from UMass, and I taught at UMass. So
nice.
Spent a lot of time in that lovely area. In fact, I once had a job offer to work in Northampton, and I wish I had taken it. But here I am in California.
Western Massachusetts is heavily wooded. It's beautiful. It's where Tanglewood is. It's my grandma had a house in Western Massachusetts, so
this is the magic time. It's magic right now.
I bet it's beautiful.
It's just like fruit coming off the trees. It's great.
Get those tomatoes. Go down to the fruit stand. Get some tomatoes.
The corn's popping right now, literally and figuratively.
That sounds good. I don't. I was saying before the show, I don't really care about any of the stories from this week, so I think we should just wrap it up and. I don't know. Sometimes you get weeks
Let's just hang out for an hour.
Yeah, maybe we should just talk about things because maybe it's that it's all so grim that I don't really want to talk about it. Now Apple really has walked. This is actually, we probably should talk a little bit about this because the opinions vary dramatically on it. Apple and Epic, of course, in a big battle. And then Apple got another kind of black mark. When WordPress, the founder of WordPress, a good friend, Matt Mullenweg, we're big fans of WordPress and Automatic, his company. Matt Mullenweg tweeted, "Heads up on why our iOS app, WordPress iOS, updates have been absent. We were locked by the App Store to be able to ship updates and bug fixes again. We had to commit to support in-app purchases." So the app has always been free. It's an app you use to monitor your WordPress site, to post on it, to check comments and things like that. It's a really good app. I use it. You also use it to log in. WordPress has free sites, but they also offer paid sites. And apparently, now there's more. This story is an evolving story. But this is how it started with his tweet. He says, "I know why this is problematic. Open to suggestions. Should I allow others in-app purchases? Should we have a new name?" He believed that the issue from Apple was that he did not have in-app purchases for the paid accounts on WordPress. Apple then responded, no. It was a mistake on our part. It's because in the app you mention the paid accounts on WordPress.com, but you don't give users the opportunity to buy those. You either you have two ways to go on this. You either need to offer them a way to buy in-app, and of course Apple takes its 30%, or you need to take any mention of the fact that you have a paid service off of the app. At which point WordPress did that, and the whole thing kind of went away. But it does raise these issues. In this case, I think Apple, they made a mistake. Maybe they should have been. This has been a constant complaint about the App Store. They're not very clear about why they do what they do. Apple apologized and said, you don't have to add purchases. We apologize. We believe the issue with the WordPress app has been resolved. This is the quote. Since the developer removed the display of their service payment options from the app, it's now a free standalone app and does not have to offer in-app purchases. We've informed the developer and apologized for any confusion. So let me make the case for Apple, and I'll let you guys shoot at me. Since Tim's not sitting here, I might as well be the Tim Cook of the panel. The case is, and I understand this, Apple says, look, a user's using this and sees in the app there is a paid tier but has no way to do it. We think that's a bad experience for users. You either should, if you're going to tell people about it, offer it or not offer it at all. What's wrong with that, Larry?
Well, first of all, I mean, this is a big issue for me, because if you look at any other platform besides mobile, at least any popular platform, i.e. Windows and Mac, pretty much anybody can develop an app and put it out there, and they're on their own, right? Apple had the brilliant idea of the App Store. It was a great idea. It's still a great idea. It brings them a lot of money. But in the words of Steve Jobs, it's an orifice. Jobs, when he announced the iPhone, talked about the telephone companies being orifices. Well, Apple is an orifice in that it is the blockage. It is the way in which, the only effective way in which you can get an app to run on their platform. And so there's a lot of issues. This is just one of them. Monetization is one of them. The other is their decisions to vet apps. Of course, I agree with the security aspect. But, I remember Steve Jobs saying, we have one too many fart apps. And, he's right. You don't need a lot of fart apps. But who is it of Apple to tell people, how much choice they should have on a particular kind of app? So it really brings up the broader question, and a question that kind of came up when Tim Cook, along with the heads of Google and Amazon and Facebook, were up before Congress. But they didn't give him nearly as much of a grilling on this as I think they should have.
Ben, I'm sorry I cut you off. You were about to say something.
I was just going to say that I was so impressed that I heard orifice, blockage, and farts in the same answer.
I guess,
but
we always go high. When you go low, we go high.
No, I think but I totally agree. I think I agree. I mean, I think that the issue here, is that Apple is trying to create a better experience for its users. That's the other side of this two-sided coin, right? Apple is trying to make sure it just works. Like when you use their devices and you use their software, it just works. And so like the WordPress issue, I think you're right, Leo, that it's sort of, you come down on the side of Apple there. They're trying to improve the user experience. But it's also interesting when that story came out, right? Which is after the Epic story. So Apple's reaction has to be, is like within this context of this conversation that's been happening for a long time about how little app makers and huge app makers get charged this big cut that goes to Apple. And I think, it's tough. It's kind of like you fall on one side or the other, right? You're either in favor of a great user experience, or you're in favor of app companies not getting screwed, or at least that's how it's kind of set up. It shouldn't be that way, but it's tough. I think in the case of WordPress, it makes a lot of sense that Apple, wanted the in-app purchase stuff to be available, but at the same time, you look at it as part of the bigger picture, and at least to me, it seems like in trying to create this kind of perfect ecosystem or marketplace where people can purchase software, Apple has now become kind of the big bad guy.
It's kind of funny that Larry should invoke how it happens on desktops, because Apple also invokes that in their defense, because they compare the marketplace for software and desktops to the marketplace for software on iOS, and they say, see how chaotic it is, and you have to have a distributor, and the distributors took more than 30%. We take a very small, reasonable cut for our services, including download bandwidth and carefully vetting the apps and so forth. So that's why Apple's telling courts, we're better. The App Store is better than the desktop marketplace, not worse than the desktop marketplace. It's certainly more restrictive. And I should also point out that there's some question about whether Apple's response is disingenuous because, and this is a later story from Sean Hollister in The Verge. He says, Matt Mullenweg of WordPress says that they'd already stripped out the plans section. It wasn't in the current version. There was no mention of paid plans. Mullenweg told The Verge that he'd previously offered to strip other mentions of the paid plans out of the app, even workarounds, like when a user views a preview of their own WordPress web page and then navigates to WordPress.com, and Apple rejected those suggestions. So it sounds like Apple, realizing it probably wasn't the best optics, decided to back down, even though maybe initially they hadn't. Davindra, do you have a sense of what happened?
I think it is the uproar. Like if Matt Mullenweg didn't tweet about the situation and tell us what was happening, I'm pretty sure Apple would have just stuck to its guns. But yeah, the situation is confusing because it's hard for developers to tell how Apple applies its rules sometimes. And
it seems
sometimes
very
it's just like
capricious. It's
very opaque, and sometimes I've heard from developers like Apple will just say, this is how it is, deal with it, and you really can't fight back. And this is the one situation where, public sentiment and certainly reporting about this has maybe pushed Apple in one direction. It is weird that, he didn't really have to change anything because he already took away the paid mentions in the app. Apple still rejected it, which is that to me is the confusing part. Like why was that the case? What is different now? And Apple apologizing, that's certainly a new thing for them, especially to a developer.
Sean Hollister writes, Apple. Hold on a second. Hold on. And Sean Hollister in Verge writes, Apple simply seems to have decided that trying to extract its cut from a free app by forcing in-app purchases isn't a hill worth dying on. Today. Yeah. All right. Go ahead, Larry.
Yeah, no, I just want to respond to what you had said. I mean, you're absolutely right that Apple will say and does say that they're creating a less chaotic, better experience, and that's probably true. But it's what monopolists have always said. If you go back to AT&T prior to 1982, one of their arguments is that if we break up the phone company, everything's going to fall apart. And when we need this, this paternalistic company to make sure that everybody's got good phone service. So I'm not saying that that's completely untrue, but it's sort of what I would expect a company like Apple to say. And there really isn't a free marketplace when it comes to the ability to distribute. And, then the question becomes, if there were a free marketplace, maybe there would be lower prices. We just don't know.
Mm-hmm. Well, and there's a court case going on about that, the class action suit against Apple. There is an investigation going on in the EU about that. Certainly, it looks like the FTC in the United States is at least considering action on the App Store. So Apple is definitely facing some heat. And then there's this suit between Apple and Epic. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, Epic and Tim Sweeney don't seem like the ideal poster boys for this freedom.
You don't say.
Yeah. Yeah.
Billionaires have rights too, Leo. Come on.
This is a very tough one. I think it's pretty. It seems to me. I'll posit this, and you guys can shoot at it. It seems to me that when Apple started the App Store, way back, a year and a half after the iPhone was introduced. Remember, the App Store was not originally part of the iPhone. In fact, Steve Jobs said, you don't need apps. You just use web pages. Just use web pages. By the way, that nowadays could be true with progressive web apps, except that Apple won't support them on iOS very well. But after a year and a half, I think they said, whether it was their plan all along or not, I don't know. Okay, we're going to create this app store. And at the time, it seemed like a pretty good deal for developers. You got on a very a exciting platform. You got a chance to ride the success of that platform. 30% was a lot less than Ingram Micro or any of the distributors charged to carry your shrink-wrapped software on store shelves. So you get to keep 70% of the revenue. You don't have to pay for downloads. It's a good experience for your end user. It's a store that works. And I think for a long time, that was kind of a happy thing. Developers were making money. Apple always points out the billions of dollars they pay out to developers. They don't mention the 30% they keep. But I think over time, it's gotten so much more complicated that what seemed like a benefit in 2010 is a little less so today. You have problems like you have Netflix, which charges a fee, but Apple doesn't take a cut of the fee and doesn't require Netflix to sell, but because it's a streaming thing. And then you have xCloud, Microsoft's gaming platform, and Google's Stadia, which are also streaming things. They're streaming games, but Apple won't allow them on there because they say, no, that's not streaming a la Netflix. That's a game store, and we can't vet the games, so we don't want it on there. It's very easy to look at Apple and say, well, your motives are purely financial. You want 30% of everything. That's rent-seeking. On the other hand, it's also easy to take the point of view, well, Apple's built something of value, and they're just trying to protect customers. I think what made sense 10 years ago doesn't make as much sense today. And Apple's in a difficult, I think what did happen, and we talked about this last week, is Apple didn't think ahead to what would happen down the road, and now they've painted themselves into a little bit of a corner. Does that make sense, Davindra?
Yes,
I think so. And I guess as these companies grow, as any marketplace grows, I feel like the rules may need to change, or at least the way we look at things. The same with Facebook too. When Facebook was, a small college-based social network, the rules were very different for them compared to now when they have, over 2 billion users. It seems like things have to evolve along with the size of the market. Apple can always say that they're not the biggest mobile platform out there, which is true, but they still have a very big platform of their own, and they have a complete monopoly of it. And I don't know what we can do. Certainly the Stadia and the xCloud stuff, to me, seems like a big issue because people want those things, and they may go to Android to get them.
Apple. I'm old enough to remember when Apple was kind of an insignificant player. I mean, it was not a huge part of the economy. And, now it's literally a $2 trillion company. It is a huge, huge company. So I think that the rules and the expectations will change and have to change as these companies become dominant. These are the robber baron. Well, maybe that's a pejorative term. These are the oil companies of our modern era. And when I was a kid, everybody hated the oil companies, whether we should have or not. And I think that tech is in for the same ride.
Well, when you say when you were a kid, that's another interesting aspect of this story to me, because I feel like the people who are playing Fortnite, a bunch of them hate Apple now, right? And there's a really interesting, Apple was the cool company when I was a kid. That was the coolest company, hands down, the coolest company. And I feel like for decades. And I feel like there are kids now where just talking about the Epic, effect, so to speak. I feel like there are tons of kids now who are thumbing their nose at Apple, being like, you guys suck, man. You know what I mean? And I just think that's an interesting aspect to this as well. And it's also, someone tweeted when the Fortnite thing was happening, someone tweeted no matter what you do, Fortnite will always be better at the internet than you.
That's a good line. I like it.
And I thought it was a good line. I think even though they're not necessarily the right poster child for this, they are super powerful, especially when it comes to driving young consumers to do things, right? Potentially. So I think that's a problem for Apple they should be thinking about.
I think the biggest problems for Apple are reputational. Because it also doesn't look good because they have Apple Arcade. They have their own game system. It feels like rent-seeking, by which I mean Apple didn't create the value of these companies, but it wants a percentage of their income anyway, just because they can. And it certainly speaks to the fact that Apple may not have a monopoly of smartphones, but among iPhone users, they have an absolute monopoly of applications. Yep. There's no other way to put an application on the iPhone. So they certainly own that. Phil Schiller responds. We were starting to see on Friday Apple's response to the Epic lawsuit. And the smoking gun that Apple pulled out was the fact that Tim Sweeney has approached Apple at least 3 times via email looking for a better deal than others get, a sweetheart deal. Schiller wrote on June 30th, 2020, Sweeney wrote my colleagues and me in an email asking for a side letter from Apple that would create a special deal for only Epic that fundamentally would change the way in which Epic offers apps on the iOS platform. They were asking permission to bypass in-app purchases, effectively what everybody would like, as well as permission to launch a third-party store, app store, for iPhones. And this is, I think, one of the undercurrents here. Everybody thinks that Epic wants its own Steam-like store, and they want to put it on iOS, and that's a clear violation of what Apple will allow. Schiller said, Sweeney said it will said, look, we're not going to do it. We're not going to adhere to the payment processing. Sweeney wrote in the email, because of restrictions imposed by Apple, Epic is unable to provide consumers with certain features in our iOS apps. So you need to give us a side letter or alter your contracts and standards documents to remove those restrictions that prevent us from having a competing app store and competing payment processing options to iOS. We hope that Apple will also make these options equally available to all iOS developers. And that's what Sweeney said, is we're not fighting this fight for ourselves. We're not asking for damages. We're not asking for money from Apple. We're trying to get a more open ecosystem.
Sure, Tim.
Which is kind of clearly
Tim.
BS, right?
Yeah.
Clearly BS. Yeah.
It'd be really interesting. A hearing coming Monday in the Northern District of California, because Epic has requested a restraining order that would put Fortnite back on the App Store, and the hearing for that is Monday. So this may happen very quickly. Mm-hmm. What do you think? You think the court will be receptive to the things? Remember, the court doesn't have the same dog in this hunt that we do, that gamers do, that Fortnite players do. I don't know if that's an advantage or disadvantage for Apple at this point. I don't know exactly where the court will come down on this.
Yeah, it seems like a difficult thing to explain, right? It's very
well, we should say that this is the Northern District. They're technically savvy.
Yes.
I think it's Judge Lucy Koh, who has a lot of experience in tech issues.
She did Apple and Samsung, yeah.
So she's been here before, and so you can't say, well, the court doesn't know anything about this stuff. They do.
Mm-hmm. I'm not sure about Epic's push for another app store, but certainly the way Apple carves out deals with other companies, like we know Amazon has a sweetheart deal, for the Amazon app. And Amazon also does the thing where the Kindle app, you can't buy books on iOS, right? You have to do that on the web or some way else. So
Apple did give Amazon a sweetheart deal on Amazon Prime.
Yep.
One of 3 companies only that has that deal. And this was Apple. And you know what? Companies are allowed to make side deals that benefit them. They said, all right, we'll let you offer Amazon Prime without in-app purchases, but we want Amazon Prime on Apple TV. That's the tit for tat.
Which took forever, by the way.
But it was a tough negotiation.
Yeah.
So Apple does allow exceptions, at least in 3 cases. I think Alcatel in France is another exception. There are 3 cases where Apple doesn't charge in-app purchases, and Apple could certainly make. I think what's going to happen here, whether it happens at the order of the court or just because the times have changed, Apple does need to rethink how it does this.
It's also, the antitrust conversation happening in D.C., right? Like, there's. Not that would necessarily sway a judge, but it's kind of in the ether right now, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But, actually, let me correct myself first. It's not Lucy Koh. I thought it was. It's Judge Gonzalez, Yvonne Gonzalez-Rogers, I'm sorry. But again, the Northern District knows tech. They deal with a lot of.
Yeah.
I think here's the problem. We're also in an election year. We're only 2 or 3 months away from an election. We have a fairly chaotic federal government right now that is dealing with a lot of other things besides antitrust. I don't think at this point anybody could put their finger to the wind and know what the federal government is going to do about anything.
Apple must buy TikTok now. The only way.
It's not even. I'm not even making a political statement about. It's just saying that if you're trying, as a business leader, trying to figure out where the winds blow, you might want to wait till January.
Absolutely.
I don't know if it'll be more favorable for you. It depends what happens. If Trump wins again, he's going to have a much stronger mandate, and he's going to be able to do more of what he wants to do, which is unpredictable, unfortunately. If Biden wins, it's also unpredictable. He's come out against things like Section 230, so it's not known where he stands on this stuff.
And he's also appropriating a lot of Warren's platform, and there's a lot of fighting against antitrust for her. So
Warren said Apple should be broken up.
Yep.
So you could actually go to a much more hostile environment in January. No, all new Justice Department, all new White House, or, I feel for tech executives over the last couple of years because a lot of it has to do with hobnobbing. They all have had to go to White House and talk to the president and argue their case. Sometimes. And it really it's not clear what the criteria are. It shifts from day to day.
For better or worse, I don't think Biden's going to be that tough on tech or any other part of corporate America.
Well, that's the other thing. I mean, right now, tech is our savior.
Right.
Right?
Is it?
To some extent.
Is it?
2016 has a few words to say. I feel like tech completely failed us for that election.
Okay. Okay. But here, I'll make my case, and you can make the counter case. My case is, in the era of COVID, if we didn't have technology, we'd be screwed.
Absolutely.
All the education's happening through Zoom. Much of the work from home, if you were lucky enough to be working, is technology. And, by the way, if there is an economic engine left running this country, it's tech. We were talking about the S&P 500, which had a record-setting week. The S&P 500 is above its February benchmark. It's the highest it's ever been. And you go, oh my God, the stock market's going crazy, until you realize that if you take out 5 companies, Facebook, Amazon, Apple, Google, and Microsoft, if you take those out, the S&P 500 lost 6% over the last 6 months. All of the growth is happening with the 5 biggest tech companies. That's Apple, $2 trillion company, all of that. So, I mean, I'm not saying that the stock market is by any means a bellwether of the American economy, but if there is a bright spot, it's there. If there are companies that are making money, if there are companies that are hiring people, if there are companies that are successful, it's tech.
They're benefiting from the fact that we're all stuck at home, or many people are stuck at home, and we're seeing white collar workers are doing really well in this, during this whole situation. Their stocks are going up. They're working from home. There are issues, certainly. I feel like we can't just say tech is our savior. They're gaining from the weird situation we're in right now. But at the end of the day, what are Zoom calls except, the Skype stuff and the Google Hangouts we've been doing forever? I don't think Zoom is fundamentally better as a platform.
The difference is
we have the tools.
The difference is you and I, we've all been doing it forever, but now it's us and everybody's grandmother that's doing it forever. Every school kid is doing it. I mean, the COVID really has fundamentally changed our relationship to technology to the point where it is truly integrated into the lives of the average American, including older Americans, not just kids today, are on their phones. It's everybody is dependent on tech, even to order your food, to order your groceries. I mean, I essentially don't go to a store. So virtually everything that comes into my house comes via the internet and a delivery truck from Amazon or somewhere else.
So if the president wants to celebrate a V-shaped recovery, he's going to have to acknowledge that tech is, if not all, a huge portion of that. And that, for him, is important to his election prospects and the future. So it's weird because we are going after tech, or not we, Congress is going after tech. And I would say we, because I think it's justified in some cases. Google and Facebook particularly wield enormous power in the well beyond what they probably should. But it's also difficult to know how to go after tech if that's the thing that's driving your economy forward.
I mean, yeah, I don't think it's fair. It's unfair to just say, "Hey guys, what are you doing? Let's look at some of this antitrust behavior." The ways Facebook handles misinformation, I think, is something we've been focusing on. They're finally starting to do something about it. But man, I sure would have liked to see this 4 or 5 years ago, before it potentially ruined an election in America and kind of led us down a very weird path for the past couple of years.
You said the F word, so let's take a break. And when we come back, I think that there is something. There's a lot to be said about Facebook and the problems it presents. In particular, the power that Mark Zuckerberg has, not because he has 60% voting power over Facebook, as a result, the power that he has over not just our politics, but the politics of the world. And I think this is a very troubling prospect. So I do think there are things to criticize about technology right now. As much as I love it, and as much as none of us would have jobs if it weren't for technology, we don't want to bite the hand that feeds us. Well, and Amazon is another good example. All of this has really done is just solidify Amazon's dominance of e-commerce, right?
Half the vehicles in front of my house are these new Prime delivery vans. I mean, they are everywhere.
Everywhere.
Yeah.
So we're going to come out of this with a newly emboldened and a newly powerful and a newly economically successful group of tech companies: Microsoft, Amazon, Apple, Facebook, and Google. And it might be to the point where they could thumb their nose at Congress and say, "Yeah, right. Come get us, baby." Let's take a break. We got more to talk about. Great crew here. Larry, all old friends, which is nice. Larry Magid now from the BBC World Service.
Treat you with respect. Yes. Now you have to be respectful.
Yes, I have to. Yes. Well, notice I'm wearing a black suit today, so
that's appropriate.
Davindra Hardware from Engadget. It's great to have you, and of course Ben Brock Johnson from WB. You are in Boston, where he's now in charge of all podcasts. How many podcasts is that?
3.
Wow. You're getting big.
But, we've ended a few, we've sunset a few, and then we've got a couple more coming soon. So
I hear
we'll be up to 5.
I hear podcasting is the next big thing. I hear.
Yeah.
In public radio, that's the conversation.
Actually, podcasting plus public radio is a very, very beneficial partnership. All the best podcasts, all the most successful podcasts are public radio, aren't they? I think they are.
Well, so someone would claim such things, but you're OG and you've been doing it since 2005.
I have. I think, so. and actually, I want the fact checkers in the chat room to work on this, but I think Twit qualifies as the longest running tech podcast of all. We started April 2005. I don't think there's anything before that that's still going.
You're the Simpsons of tech podcasts.
Definitely. Our show name brought to you by ZipRecruiter. I can tell you when we do hiring, we do it through ZipRecruiter because it works so well. And nowadays, hiring, if you're hiring, bless you, God bless you. There are people who need work, and the best way to find those people, the right people for the job, is ZipRecruiter. It's the place where hiring is simple, it's fast, it's smart, and you can try it for free right now at ZipRecruiter.com/twit. Why ZipRecruiter? Well, for a lot of reasons. First of all, of course, when you post on ZipRecruiter, you're instantly posting to over 100 of the web's leading job sites. Look, the wider the net you cast, the better the fish, if you know what I mean. But they don't stop with that. With their powerful matching technology, ZipRecruiter scans it has many current resumes because people go to ZipRecruiter to apply for jobs. They'll go through those looking for people that match your posting, the right experience, the right go-to, and they're going to invite them to apply to your job. And that is a miracle. I remember one time we used ZipRecruiter. Our bookkeeper had quit. Gave us 2 weeks notice. My wife is a financial person, so she could do it, but she didn't want to do it. She said, "Now I'm going to have to do her job. I don't know what I'm going to do." Well, she posted on ZipRecruiter. This was breakfast. Before lunch, within an hour or two, she said, "Oh, look, I got a great here's another great candidate." They're rolling in. And that's not unusual. ZipRecruiter is so effective. 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter will get quality candidates within the first day. That's that matching process. The other thing I like about it makes the entire hiring process efficient because, first of all, those applicants don't go into your voicemail or into your email. They go in the ZipRecruiter interface. They reformat all the resumes so it's easy to scan them, and you have screening questions so you can filter people out, multiple choice, true, false essays, whatever you want. The dashboard makes it very easy to screen out the bad candidates, rank the rest, pick the best. It is a very, very effective tool. Just go to the website and look at the testimonials. You'll see all the people. And I add our name to the bunch because we've hired many people from ZipRecruiter. It's really our go-to. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/twit. See for yourself. That's ZipRecruiter.com/twit. Should I spell it out for you? ZipRecruiter.com/TWIT. ZipRecruiter. It's the smartest way to hire, and we recommend it, and we use it ourselves. I read an article, I wish I could find it, I don't know where it is, that posited that really the most powerful person in the world right now is Mark Zuckerberg. If Mark Zuckerberg, given his absolute control of Facebook, the board of directors can't say boo, nobody else can say boo, I doubt Sheryl Sandberg can say, Mark, you got to knock it off. So with his 60% voting shares, he's completely dominant. And if he decided, I don't like this candidate or I don't like this policy, it would not be hard for him to modify, to tweak the algorithm in such a way that he could get somebody elected. Do you not agree? Do you not think that's possible? Is there any check on his power at all?
There is none, right? No, that's the ultimate question. And what's funny is that, I don't know, you posit this question, Leo, even though we keep learning things like Facebook's algorithm keeps biasing towards conservatives, even though they're the ones complaining that tech is erasing them. So I don't know who Mark Zuckerberg is really answering to. It seems like the people who shout loudest to me is the people he'll try to appease.
We can speculate that Mark's going to do what will make him the most money, and that right now he's got his finger to the wind and he says, you know what, I better make sure conservatives get an outsized voice on Facebook because I don't want the White House shutting us down. Look what he's doing at TikTok. So you might speculate that, but we don't know, and we literally, the FTC, Congress, no one can stop this guy at this point. Do you think?
And it is ironic. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
All right. Well, I mean, I just think it's ironic that here we are, Silicon Valley, a very, very blue area. I suspect, I don't know what Mark's politics are, but I suspect they're liberal. And I know Sheryl's are. I know Sheryl worked with the Democratic Party. Yet they are playing very much into the hands of the conservatives.
Well, look who they hired for their news operation, Campbell Brown, who is absolutely conservative. Right?
Yet, at the same time, the conservatives are beating up on them constantly and claiming that they're rigging the election against the conservatives. So it's a weird, I feel like Alice in Wonderland trying to understand this stuff.
Yeah, I will say, I think our idea is that tech is kind of liberal and very democratic, but honestly, from my experience, it's more libertarian, like more the people who are in the middle who are trying to say, oh, we just want fairness. We want the market to be fair. We want certain things to be fair. So they're not necessarily the ones fighting for things like human rights or diversity or equality or equal pay or gender, equality or anything like that.
I'm not even asserting that Mark's doing anything wrong. I'm just saying there is nothing to stop him from doing so, and we don't know what he's doing, and there is literally nothing that can stop him. And I'll give you
his own employees. His own employees is basically the only thing. I think, and it seems like some of the reporting, at least from the Times, has suggested that he's getting it from those employees quite a bit. But in the stand-ups or whatever, the full company meetings or whatever they're doing. But even that, I mean, you got to have real guts to do that, right? To stand up to him and give him a hard time. So that's pretty unlikely that he'd be stopped by his own employees.
It is true, though, that every Silicon Valley company is somewhat at the mercy of its engineers, because engineering talent is unique. It's hard to get. You spend a lot of energy finding these people. It's not an infinite supply, especially with H-1B visas being cut back. And so I know Google for sure listens to activists within Google because they can't afford to piss them off. I don't know if it's the case in Facebook. We certainly have heard about people. And so I just want to be clear. I'm not saying Mark's liberal or conservative or Mark's leaning one way or the other. I'm just saying we don't know, and there's no way of. I don't know of a good way to stop him. Maybe it is just the employees. That's a very thin blue line. It's a light blue.
To me, it's sort of like Zuckerberg has always styled himself after Bill Gates, and especially 90s Bill Gates, the Bill Gates that would go out there,
the cutthroat,
destroy small companies. Yeah, the cutthroat Bill Gates, the guy from what was it, Pirates of Silicon Valley, that movie. Which I love. It's a fun movie. But yeah, the guy who would blow away small competitors, copy everybody, just be ruthless, do what it is. He's still doing it with TikTok and being hilariously bad at bringing TikTok features into Instagram. But I'm still waiting for the Mark Zuckerberg who kind of evolves the way Bill Gates did as a humanitarian, as somebody who actually reads books and thinks deeply about how to help people and society's issues as a whole. And I think that would be something that would help for Zuckerberg. But yeah, there's nobody to tell him no at this point. It's terrifying.
And one of the problems with Facebook is how the algorithms really encourage people to remain in their little cocoon. So I'm quite sure that my Facebook feed looks dramatically different than a Trump supporter's Facebook feed. I mean, they're going to see over and over and again, Trump, 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 positive, positive, positive. My feed looks like a Democratic coalition meeting, or even further to the left.
It's confirmation bias.
My community.
It's confirmation bias embodied by the algorithm, saying, "Hey, you're going to be happier if you see stuff you agree with. So let's feed it to you."
And the scariest thing is this is being weaponized now in the case of like QAnon stuff, right? Like that's some of the stuff that's been really wild to see. Is
now Facebook's pulling down they say they're pulling down QAnon groups and they're blocking QAnon posts.
But it's a little like I don't know. It feels like a little bit too little, too late, right? Like so many.
I think you could easily make the argument that QAnon. Look, Americans, probably humans, have loved conspiracy theories for as long as we've been around.
Sure, yeah.
Then they've spread like wildfire wherever possible. But Facebook made it possible in a dramatically more effective way with a much larger potential audience. And I think you could clearly make the case that QAnon wouldn't be the conspiracy theory it is today without that. Without Facebook.
Absolutely. And they like all of these. And the scary thing, I think, is that the way that so many of these groups function as they're being weaponized by astroturfing organizations and people who want to fund some of the stuff that's kind of scary, at least to me, scary and terrifying when it comes to things like anti-vaccine groups and things like that is they really they've figured out how to do it. They've really figured out how to game the system, how to bring people in,
and
connect people to other groups that are similar.
It wasn't that hard.
It's true. It's true.
It almost does it by itself.
Yeah.
And in fact, I think you could probably make the case that Mark has done nothing. He's an engineer, very smart guy. He's probably done nothing than optimize for engagement and profit. That's all it took.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. But that, by the way, was the startup philosophy for the past 10 years. For the time I've been covering startups and hypergrowth and everybody who wants to, build at all costs and move fast and break things, which was their, Zuck's philosophy for a while. He moved so fast he broke democracy. We are dealing with that right now.
And I think you could argue that Facebook's the best at it because Mark's so smart and he's hired very smart people and they did a great job. They did a better job than anybody else in Silicon Valley. Well done. This is the article. It was on 10, which is a Medium blog from Jumana Abu Ghazela. The unelected monarch is shaping our public life. His name is Mark Zuckerberg. The most important election of this year has only, this is the subhead's even more important. The most important election this year has only one voter. And then it's this guy, and this is, of course, about the most unflattering picture I've ever seen of Mark. Red-rimmed, robotic eyes with
Where are the flattering ones? I don't think I've ever seen those.
He's got the soulless gaze of a great white shark bearing down on you. Yeah, I know. This is his test.
He looks pretty good in a T-shirt.
Maybe it's the tie, you think?
Tie doesn't help.
If and Jemana starts, she's the founder of Pivot for Humanity, a nonprofit on a mission to professionalize Silicon Valley. I don't know who he or she is, but but the lead is pretty. If it's not the single most powerful individual position in the world, it only has a few rivals. Think General Secretary of the Chinese Communist Party, or the Pope, or Chair of the U.S. Federal Reserve, maybe the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia. It's a position that's been embroiled in a contentious conversation for years now about the scope and possibly criminal misuse of the current incumbent's power, the ability to encourage wars between nuclear powers, to rally or slow down global markets, to end or initiate horrifying human rights crises around the world. But I'm not talking about a presidency. We get to elect the president. I'm talking about the CEO of Facebook, Mark Zuckerberg. And I have to say I agree 100%. And we don't really address this. You know, we're talking about Trump banning TikTok, and is the Chinese government a threat? Is TikTok a tool of the Chinese government? Is it spying on us? Whoa. That's, I think, de minimis compared to what the threat that Facebook right in our own backyard poses.
The call's coming from inside the house.
It's from inside the house. I love it.
Yeah.
And that's a fundamental change, right, from 2016, right? That's a fundamental change as we understand how these platforms are impacting some of the biggest, at least electoral decisions, right? Like 2016,
I think you can also,
the story was outside influence.
Well, but I think you could say that one of the true success stories of the Trump campaign in 2016 was its use of Facebook. Its brilliant use of Facebook.
Yeah. And Facebook ads. And Facebook actively courted them to buy ads. Like
Facebook had embedded people in the Trump campaign to help them do a better job buying ads. Of course, that's in their business interest. It'll be interesting to see what happens in 2020. Somebody asked me on Twig, we were talking about this. If you were at a dinner party with Zuck, what would you, if you could tell him to do one thing and he would do it, what would you do? And I'd say, well, not have any political ads. But that's not a perfect solution either.
That's a small piece of it. Yeah, at the risk of defending King Mark, it is a double-edged sword because there's also a lot of progressive activism, like the women's marches and the anti-gun activities and a lot of positive things that are also happening on Facebook. So again, if you look at my feed, you're going to see a lot of positivity, at least in terms of how I look at the world. And that's true with a lot of people. And then certainly there have been some good things that have come out of Facebook. So the question is, how do you throw away the baby with the bath? How can you clean this up and at the same time not take away a tool that progressives are able to use to, from where I sit, make the world a better place?
Absolutely. And you make the same case with Twitter, that it's been used by Black Lives Matter and the Arab Spring and many activists to finally get a voice. If it weren't for Facebook, we may never have seen the video of George Floyd being murdered. That started on Facebook. So, no, you can absolutely make that case. I just worry that we're giving, well, we don't have a choice, that Mark has been given such power, and we don't control him in any way. And I do think this is the beginning of, you've read science fiction, you know that in 100 years, corporations will run the world. That's obvious. If you read science
in 100 years,
I think it might be happening right now.
It's happening. Like, this is everything Facebook is building and all the major tech platforms. It's freaking Brave New World. It is the dump of information that people want, but is also controlling them. Like it's not 1984, right? It's the thing where people are controlled by the things they're addicted to, but they keep wanting it. It's not like it's a dictator over them.
It's actually Brave New World. It's Soma.
Yeah.
It's the drug that we know is making us stupid, but we're doing it anyway because it feels pretty good.
It's pretty good.
Pretty good stuff. And as the world gets more dystopian, what do you do when the world gets more dystopian? You take more Soma.
The only piece of optimism I've had about this, the Facebook influence on the election, is it sounds like they're focusing. I mean, the war game stuff that they've reportedly been doing in figuring out they're actually thinking now. The company is apparently thinking now about what happens if Biden gets elected and Trump refuses to leave because of the results. And Facebook is trying to solve for that now, which I think is terrifying, but
they're learning.
Makes a move in the right direction, right? Like they're like starting to anticipate terrible things that might happen, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it could be.
I guess they should be thinking about this, although it doesn't. I mean, in a way, this tells you how much power they have. If a president of the United States loses an election and decides not to leave the White House, who do we turn to? The military, the Secret Service, Congress, the courts? No, Facebook.
Facebook,
right?
Yeah.
We don't have to kick him out of the White House. All we do is have to cancel his Twitter and Facebook account, and he goes away. He's gone. He can live there.
I guess this is really a bad conversation because I don't normally like to pick up topics where there's no answer, but lately there have been a lot of those, and this is another one. I'm against, for instance, a federal ban on TikTok. I think it's completely reasonable for the Department of Defense to say, no, it can't be on your phone. I think it's completely reasonable for Wells Fargo to say it can't be on your phone. And I think I took it off my phone after last week. I think any individual could quite reasonably say, I'm not going to have TikTok on my phone. I'm not going to have Facebook on my phone. I don't have either. But that I don't think the government should step in and ban it, TikTok or Facebook. I think that's not the right answer either.
Or put some on the scale of who acquires it, or get some kind of a kickback from the acquisition. That's the other thing that makes no sense to me.
That's just appalling.
The Treasury is supposed to get the highest bidder is going to write a check to the Treasury to, for the permission to acquire TikTok.
It's so contrary to our American values that you can't. It's almost hard to know what to say. It's like what?
And honestly, that whole situation kind of broke my heart too, because I've been a fan of what Microsoft has been doing for the past couple of years, especially post Nadella and the way he's reshaped the company.
Too.
But yeah, I certainly don't think much of the fact that they were able to work with the Trump administration to do this, to just basically take away this company or steal this company away from its owner. I don't feel good about that.
There's an old adage, if you sleep with dogs, you'll wake up with fleas. And this is what's really corrupting about a corrupt government, is that everybody who operates within that government becomes corrupted as well, because it's the only way you can survive. And it breaks my heart to see Tim Cook go to the White House and sit there grimacing next to Donald Trump, but it's his job. He has to do it, and he's going to wake up with fleas. And Microsoft too. And it does. It tars every single company in this country because they understand his power is so great. And this is why you don't want an autocratic government. It's why authoritarian governments necessarily fail, why innovation doesn't work, why the American experiment is so important, because we very intentionally, from the very beginning of this country, said we don't want an autocrat. We don't want a king, because that corrupts the whole operation. The rule of law has to be paramount. And I've seen it one of the things I always gather from my travels as I wander around is when I remember going to Cairo, and I'm talking to people, and you really get the sense that there's a complete loss of faith in government, because they know if you're a family member of a minister, or you can bribe them, you're going to get your way, otherwise you're not. And that completely demoralizes everybody. Everybody just goes, well, screw it, throws up their hand. And you get a failed country, and that's exactly what happened in Egypt. You get a failed country, and I don't want us to go down that path. That is a very bad path. And so, you're seeing, that's when you said right there with Microsoft is exactly the consequence.
Right. I was shocked when I read Microsoft's press release or blog post about the conversations with Trump, and they specifically said that they're going to make a deal that's good for the U.S. Treasury, which basically means they're essentially reinforcing Trump's ridiculous.
Backsheesh.
Yeah.
It's bribery.
Yes, exactly. I mean, the deal should be based on what's good for the country, perhaps, but not what's good for the Treasury.
And I think, and it's kind of, this is the other problem, is it muddies everything. You could make, it's reasonable to have this policy debate over, should a Chinese company be allowed to have a social network in the United States, or is that risky? I think if Mark Zuckerberg were Chinese, there'd be a very different conversation. We would be probably actively, everybody would say, take down Facebook. I would understand that. But I'm just making the point that I think he's as bad as anybody, and he's American.
I wonder, though, the fact that TikTok is a playground for millions and millions of young people, and not just teenagers, 20-something, voting age young people, whether or not that's going to backfire on Trump if he actually does take it down or somehow muzzle it between now and the election. It seems to me people would be really angry if you took away their TikTok.
Well, and this is what breaks my heart, because I see such good creativity. And you see people like Sarah Cooper, who is a comedian who couldn't work because of COVID. There's no clubs she can perform in. Came up with a new way of performing. Yeah, she could have probably done it on Instagram or Twitter. In fact, she has a presence on both. But TikTok was just somehow magically suited to her, and she became very famous because of TikTok. Or Lil Nas X and Old Town Road, which became the #1 hit of 2019, thanks to TikTok. It's a place for creativity, and I hate to lose that. I'm sure we'd find an alternative, but that seems like a mean thing to do. I don't know.
Do you think it's going to happen, though? It seems so unlikely to me that it's actually going to any of the TikTok stuff.
I don't think there's going to be a shutdown. Is it going to happen? Yeah. I can't imagine there would actually be a shutdown. It seems like the possibility is that either Microsoft or somebody will end up buying those assets, which, again, is a wild thing. And I'm sure the parent company, was it ByteDance? I'm sure they're going to be out for blood.
Well, they're going to sue. In fact, Larry, you had a piece in Forbes. They announced that next week, of course, they've been saying this all along, that we're going to sue. That means it now is no longer in the hands of the executive. It's in the hands of the judicial branch. The courts will decide.
Right.
And I guess there is a question about the legality of the executive order. Can the chief executive unilaterally say, yeah, we're going to... There's some evidence that he can. CFIUS, the Committee on Foreign Investment in the United States, seems to have that ability. They can turn down mergers. They can say, we kind of did it with Huawei, right? So there's precedent for this. So it'd be very interesting what the court would say. What is TikTok's claim? What's their defense?
Well, the defense is that they've been trying to negotiate with the Trump administration for over a year, and they're not getting anywhere, and that they don't feel that Trump is actually trying to resolve this problem. And the other defense is that Trump is interfering. I mean, even as they attempt to sell themselves to a U.S. company, they're basically doing what Trump asked them to do, and he's still interfering. Apparently, he wants to give it to Larry Ellison, to give it to Oracle.
Yeah, that's the new one, because
and
Larry Ellison held a fundraiser for him.
Exactly. I mean, that's insane that we would make such important policy decisions based on who wants to, grease the skids for Donald Trump.
I don't think they're not the ones who need to defend themselves, really, because nothing Trump has said has been proven. Like them being a Chinese-owned company that's a security risk, they still need to prove that before they can start enacting this. And the Trump administration has not.
Do they need to prove it? I mean, does Trump
I guess executive orders, he doesn't have to. But I'm sure ByteDance could come back and be like, well, we didn't do anything. Like, you're saying we're doing these things, but we're not.
Well, it's kind of the same with Huawei. It's the presumption that if President Xi of China said to ByteDance or Huawei, said to ByteDance, hey, I want every bit of information. ByteDance says, no, we keep all the American TikTok content in America. We back it up at Singapore. It never hits the Chinese shores. But we know that it's a Chinese company, and the Chinese government can go to them. By the way, same as American company can go to Facebook. American government can go to Facebook and say, we want to see all that data. And by the way, don't mention anything about this. This is just between us two.
So where do we draw the line? I mean, iPhones are manufactured in China. Yeah, they're designed in Cupertino. But almost every piece of electronics that we have in our home comes from China. And so do we extend this to hardware makers?
I'm trying to think about what's the reasonable. We can look at a piece of hardware and know what it does. We can know if it's dangerous, can't we?
Well, you don't know what's inside this phone. You don't know what's inside the
we can. We can take it apart, look at everything
somebody
in it.
can take it apart. Yeah, maybe. Yeah. I can't.
The problem with Huawei, as I understand it, is that it's software-driven in many cases. And so you can't say with any predictiveness what a piece of Huawei gear will always do, because the software can be changed and it will have some other behavior. So you can't vet a Huawei 5G switch. But you could look at a phone and vet it. You could say, no, this phone does not have as long as Apple controls the software, this phone will not have the ability to do anything nefarious. Right. I think that's the case.
Yeah, and I think that there was some concern about Huawei's, I'm going to sound very stupid now, which is probably accurate, but the way that Huawei was leveraging algorithms in its software for the 5G kits, right? Like that's the idea, right? Like they could basically change some fundamental way that the software works.
It's a software-defined switch. So the software that you load on that switch completely defines the behavior, whether it routes through China, for instance. So that's the problem. You can't vet a piece of Huawei gear and say that will never misbehave because a Chinese company controls it 100%. And so that's a reasonable thing to say, yeah, we're not going to use Huawei switches. Now, Huawei also makes phones. And I think you could probably say, well, how is a Huawei phone worse than an Apple phone? I guess because Huawei does the software. I don't know. I think that's the point, is that in theory anyway, hardware can be vetted. Software, it depends.
Can be vetted in the country where it's being built.
Yeah. Right. You cannot prevent a Huawei switch from loading malicious software. You just can't.
I think there could be arguments made for like essential core pieces of hardware and technology, and switches. There's a lot of stuff happening there. There's a lot of data going through there and a lot of personal data. That's different than just like a single phone.
TikTok seeing my location, which it can't, by the way, on the iPhone, but if it could, is not nearly the dangerous thing that a guy who controls the 5G switches in a major American city, that guy controls infrastructure that is vital. Yeah. Yeah, that's very different. So I don't have a problem with the Huawei ban. I think it was capriciously implemented and hurts Huawei in ways probably shouldn't, and it's going to backfire. But I think it was a reasonable thing. And by the way, most Western governments did decide not to use Huawei gear in their 5G switches, 5G networks. But I don't know about the TikTok ban. I don't think a government should ban a social network. Well, I don't know.
Well, and really,
I'd love to see the government ban Facebook.
The Chinese do. They ban all sorts of social networks.
But that's the whole point. We shouldn't be like the Chinese. Tim Wu wrote an opinion piece and I normally respect the guy, in the New York Times saying, hey, China does it to us, we should do it back. No, we should stand up for a free and open internet, because that's what we do. That's how you promote our values. You don't.
And the question is, you take TikTok at its word that their servers are based in the U.S. and Singapore and not in mainland China, that their policies are determined by their policy shops here in the United States and not in mainland China. I mean, if you listen to them, and I've spoken extensively with their executives, they will argue that they are operating not as a U.S. company, but certainly not with Chinese domination in terms of how they make decisions about how they operate their U.S. subsidiary.
But they never address the issue that is the law of the land in China, and they're a Chinese company, that the Chinese government can demand information from them, which they could then take off the U.S. servers and send to them. They never really addressed that.
That was the most convincing sort of like theoretical example, right? Like you essentially have a government official either in the U.S. or China, and somehow the Chinese government takes their TikTok data and uses it against them to bend them to its will. Yeah. Right. And
we see those unsaved drafts of the WAP dance that you've done. We're going to use that against you. We're going to publish that.
Yeah.
And we know that in the United States, thanks to the Patriot Act and FISA courts and national security letters, we have similar rules. If I were Chinese, for instance, if I were the Chinese government, I could see why they would say, well, we don't want any of our citizens using Facebook. That's not, by the way, the reason they don't want the citizens using Facebook, because the reason they don't want people using Facebook in China is because they might learn about the Uyghurs internment camps, or they might learn about Tiananmen Square, or just hear about it. They might think President Xi looks like Winnie the Pooh, and that would be the end of the world. So that's the real reason. And actually, it may be the only real reason to ban TikTok. On my iPhone, TikTok doesn't get a lot of my personal information. I don't post videos. I just watch videos. The real threat of TikTok might be the propaganda threat more than anything else.
Sure.
Actually, it might be for Donald Trump the propaganda threat, because TikTok is used by a lot of young people who are also playing all sorts of tricks on Donald Trump.
Well, yeah, we already know. We already know that happened in Tulsa.
It helped wreck his Tulsa rally. So maybe, when you describe why China doesn't want Facebook, maybe that's why Donald Trump doesn't want TikTok.
Well, I'm sure it is. Actually, come to think of it.
And Leo, I'm glad you brought up the China and the Uyghur Muslim situation, that whole deal. I feel like that's something we should be pressing American companies on harder when they decide to collaborate with the Chinese government and work in China and offer their products in China too. That to me seems like a more useful way of us questioning a lot of this, of what's happening in China.
Well, and that's another issue with Facebook as well.
Yeah,
Facebook has consistently benefited dictators in Myanmar and other countries. Here's a Washington Post article from 2018: Why Dictators Love Facebook. And this is, this is the problem with Facebook and any social network. They can weaponize information in ways that we have never seen before. Somebody asked me, well, isn't this, how is this any different from William Randolph Hearst creating the Spanish-American War in, what was it, 1915? And he did. He lobbied for war. He actually made the war happen. And so in a way, this is like that, except he's even more powerful.
Yeah, and everything happens very quickly. Like one post can be a war declaration. It wouldn't just be several articles or a big push. Leo, when we started talking about this, you said you didn't want to leave this in a place where we didn't know, we don't have any answers. We kind of don't know what to say. I think we can start to think about what we want from our social networks moving forward. Facebook did announce an oversight board, which unfortunately will not actually be up and running until after the election. Thanks a lot, guys. But there is certainly more we could start pushing for these companies. Like I wish Facebook was run more like maybe like an actual newspaper, or even like, with people who are used to dealing with facts and information, freaking librarians. Like Facebook needs to be someplace that's actually managed by people who understand the importance of information, the flow of accurate information.
And I should point out, historians do not agree that the press war between Hearst and Pulitzer in the 1890s created the Spanish-American War. Certainly remember the Maine, and that slogan created a lot of war hysteria. But Joseph Campbell, professor of communication at American University, the great Joseph Campbell, said no serious historian of the Spanish-American War period embraces the notion that they fomented or brought on the war in 1899.
But at least William Randolph got us Hearst Castle. I mean, I walked by Mark Zuckerberg's house. It'll never be a state park.
Hey, wait till you go to Hawaii and see the Zuckerberg plantation in Kauai.
That you can't approach.
That you can't get anywhere near. I imagine it rivals Hearst Castle in its size and opulence.
Maybe that'll be a Hawaii state park someday.
Yeah, it's a lot more like a Xanadu, if you ask me.
But that is the big difference, right? Like, Larry, when you were talking about the sort of your filter bubble being the Women's March and Black Lives Matter and some of this stuff, and then the filter bubbles that we're talking about when it comes to QAnon and right. Vaccine hesitant groups or vaccine resistant groups and this stuff. To me, the real difference there, and what Davindra is talking about too, like the real difference there is facts, right? Like, right. Yes. You can be whatever, you can argue politics all you want, but there is not an elite conspiracy to steal and eat babies that is run out of a pizza shop. That is a fact. Okay, like that's not we don't need to argue about that. Right. That's BS.
And if I believed that were true, I would be up in arms. If I honestly believed the Democrats were eating babies, I would be up in arms. But it happens to not be true.
Right. And so like there's the difference, I think, in terms of what we ask our social networks for. Right. We don't ask them to stop allowing people to advocate for the things that they believe in necessarily. But if the thing is clearly a complete pipe dream.
Well, some things are obvious.
Come down on that. Right.
But here's a study from Avaz, which is a nonprofit public interest group. Facebook is funneling readers towards COVID misinformation. And this is killing people. False medical information can be deadly. Researchers led by Bangladesh's International Center for Diarrheal Disease Research. There's a place I never want to work at, but thank God somebody does. Writing in the American Journal of Tropical Medicine and Hygiene have suggested a single piece of coronavirus misinformation led to as many as 800 deaths. Facebook apparently, because of the algorithm, I'm guessing, over-promotes misinformation and under-promotes truthful information. So, and I'm sure they don't want it to be that way. Is the algorithm out of control?
And they even claim that they don't do that. They actually are blocking dangerous information at the same time saying we don't want to be an arbiter of truth. So they're giving us mixed messages as to what their goal really is around this dangerous information.
Avaz analyzes 200 pieces of health misinformation shared on Facebook after being identified as problematic. Fewer than 1 in 5 had Facebook's warning label. 84% slipped through controls after they were translated into other languages or republished in whole or in part. So Facebook does have controls. They don't work. And it's a big problem. Posts that are rated... The
truth is boring.
Pardon me?
Yeah.
The truth is boring.
The truth is boring a lot of the time. Unfortunately, not lately. But the truth is, a lot of the time, the truth is boring. And Facebook doesn't make Facebook any money. That doesn't keep people on Facebook, right?
Avaz identified 42 super spreader sites that had 28 million followers, generating an estimated 800 million views, all of them of false information. A single article which claimed falsely that the AMA was encouraging doctors and hospitals to overestimate deaths. In fact, I've seen that on the news.
Yep, Fox picked up on that one.
Yep, not true. It was seen 160 million times on Facebook. It becomes true because the news picks it up and you see it, and nobody really thinks about the source.
It goes from Facebook to Fox to Trump, and then back out again.
Yeah. Global networks, those super spreader networks, had 3.8 billion views last year. The audience peaked in April with 460 million views in a single month. I think that's because we're all desperate, looking for information anywhere we can find it. And the problem is Facebook is not effective in blocking misinformation. So anyway.
You know what's scary? I have a friend who's actually a fairly famous person. I won't even mention her name. Who's a Trump supporter, and I've known her for years and years and years. And I went to her page yesterday, and there she was, standing at some conservative event that Trump spoke at, holding arm to arm with her fellow conservative women, without a mask, without any social distancing. And I don't know, does she really believe that that's the safe thing to do? She's not a stupid person. She's not a bad person. But she's publicly demonstrating this incredibly irresponsible behavior, I guess, based on what her worldview is. And it makes no sense to me. I mean, the world I live in, people would never do that.
It's a strange world we live in 2020. There's no question about it. All right, this is depressing. Just, Davindra, come on. What's the answer? You said there was an answer. What's the answer?
I do think the answer is we have to push these companies to, I think, the past couple of years, facts, truth. We have let it erode so much. So it would be nice for us to push for that more from Facebook. And I think that's it. And every social network, Twitter, everything, they're starting to do that. And I think it's great. The oversight board sounds good, but we need more people, and we need that to be the thing that the algorithm is tuned for, and not the most fun, sexy misinformation or viral posts. Like, virality is the danger, really. And that's what we've built towards for the past several years.
I also think that we don't have very good defenses against chaotic evil.
Nope.
And we as human beings assume the best, and we don't understand chaotic evil. And when it exists, it can ride over us like the four horsemen of the apocalypse because we have no defenses. It's like, huh?
It's like, you're not following the rules. And they're like, whatever, man.
Whatever, man. There are no rules, man.
There are no rules.
Where we're going, we don't need roads.
We don't need no roads, man. All right, let's take a little break. Executive producer for Podcast WBUR is here. I always want to say BRU because that was the Brown University radio station when I was a kid.
Yeah, I listened to BRU quite a bit.
Yeah, great
BRU
radio
is great.
station. Yeah.
Yeah, not as good as BUR.
No,
obviously.
BUR is much better. Yeah. Boston University, right?
Yes, sir.
Originally, anyway. Ben Brock Johnson, great to have you at the Brock Johnson on the Twitter. Larry Magid, also now with the Beeb. I love it. ConnectSafely.org is his website. At Larry Magid on Twitter. Davindra Hardware, senior editor at Engadget. At Davindra. I want to ask you about the Duo, Davindra. Have you played with it yet?
Ooh, I'm very excited.
Okay.
It is.
Okay, good.
It's coming soon.
Good.
It is.
I need some excitement.
We know the
in my
release
life.
is coming soon.
Something happened.
Let me just say, yeah. I'm excited. I spent.
Okay, I'm going to take a break. Hold that thought. I got to take a break. Hold that thought because I want somebody to say because I already bought one, and I want somebody to reaffirm. I need a little confirmation bias, if you don't mind. Our show today brought to you by Mint Mobile. I tell you, I got the best phone I ever got, best deal I ever got when I got my iPhone SE from Mint Mobile. What a deal that was. Mint Mobile gives you the same premium network coverage that you would get from T-Mobile because it is T-Mobile riding on the T-Mobile network, but for a lot less. I pay like $90 a month per line for my T-Mobile. My Mint Mobile, $25 a month because I got the 12 gigabyte a month unlimited nationwide talk and text plan. The biggest plan they have was $300 for a year, $25 a month. You can go down to $15 a month with their 3-month introductory plan. That's amazing. Unlimited text, unlimited talk, high quality. All plans include, this is new, 5G for free. What? Go ask Verizon how much that'll cost. It's unbelievable deal. I don't know why people pay more. And so when I got the iPhone SE, I got a deal. They offer, you can either buy phones or take your existing phones. When I got the SE, $15 a month for the SE, $15 a month for the service. That's $30 a month for 24 months. $30 a month. For 1/3 what I'm paying T-Mobile, I got a phone and the service. Oh my God. By going online, eliminating the costs of a retail store, Mint Mobile can save you a lot of money. And I think Ryan Reynolds is putting a little cash in there too. Every plan with Mint Mobile gives you unlimited nationwide talk and text, and then you choose how much data you're going to use. So I went all the way. I got the 12 gigabyte plan. But there are plans for every use, every budget. If you're not 100% satisfied, they've got a 7-day money-back guarantee. There's no risk. They will send you the SIM for free if you're going to use your existing phone. You could port your number over either with the existing phone or buying a new phone, so you save your number, you save your contacts. There couldn't be a better way to switch to the Fox. The Fox looks surprisingly like Ryan Reynolds, by the way. I don't want to say anything. He stole Ryan's glasses. Sign up for Mint Mobile today. Save. You'd be crazy not to. I love my iPhone SE. I love my Mint Mobile plan. It's just the right way to go. And if you've got family members and they want a phone, my father-in-law, kids, to get your new wireless plan for just $15 a month with their 3-month introductory plan and get the plan shipped to your door free. Mintmobile.com/twit. Mintmobile.com/twit. Cut your wireless bill down to just $15 a month. Mintmobile.com/twit. All right, the Duo. This is an Android phone. We talked about it a couple of weeks ago when Microsoft announced it. Panos Panay's video is now available. You can watch it on YouTube. The originally journalist, you probably went to that, right, Davindra? It was press
that was
only.
a private briefing before.
Yeah. I don't understand why they did that and then the next day released it publicly. It's like,
you got to prep those stories. It does take a while to write these things and to kind of distill this information into something, so you're not just watching a Microsoft ad. I vastly prefer this rather than them just dropping a video for us.
I agree. This is one thing COVID has brought us that I hope will continue, which is no more conferences. I even thought the Democratic Convention was much more enjoyable.
Oh, it was so good.
I
enjoyed it.
The Apple announcement was actually better.
The WWDC was better.
Much better.
Yeah.
The state by state thing in the
wasn't that
DNC
awesome?
It was the most ridiculous, awkward, best.
You
thing
hated
I've
that?
seen.
See, you know why I liked it?
I thought it was amazing.
So when I was a kid,
calamari industry, they did very
I know calamari got a big plug. When I was a kid, I still am. I'm obviously, if you watch our shows, I'm a political junkie. I love this stuff. I eat it up. When I was a kid, I would get a pad of paper and I would write down the votes. This was back when a convention was often contested. Humphrey is pulling ahead. Oh no, and you'd watch them confabbing and in the smoke-filled rooms and trying to the next vote. He got about 10 more votes, and I loved that stuff. The state-by-state vote was so much fun because this time instead of staring down at Dan Rather with a backpack and talking in the convention floor, you got to see every state and a little something of every state, and they went from one. I thought it went surprisingly well. There was a great. Oh no, I got to find this. There was a great Facebook post of the producer of the. I don't know if I
right. Or the guy.
The guy who did it.
Yeah.
The director. Yeah, with not wearing shoes and socks,
sitting in shorts in his house.
Right.
In his living room, looked like
set up.
Yeah, it was. Here's the picture.
Emmy award-winning director, I think, right?
Yeah, he's got 3 Emmys on the shelf right there. He did it barefoot from his living room. And I love it. It looks a little bit like the Twit Studios. He's got big screens with 16 screens on each of them.
This is multitasking. Yeah.
Now he's not directing it. What's in front of him is a comms switch. So he's talking to the various sources and saying, "Get ready, we're going to go to you." Blah blah blah. This is another COVID winner, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Card table. He's doing it on a card table in shorts without shoes on. 14 Emmy Awards, 6 Director Guilds of America Awards as a director and producer. Nice job, Glenn Weiss.
I've covered conventions, and what you see on the floor of the convention is totally different than what you typically see on television, except this year when it was only on television. And so we actually all got the
exactly saw the same. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So back to the duo. Let's do over. So I was all excited. I thought, well, not excited, but I was going to buy the new Samsung Galaxy Z Flip 2 just because I feel like folding phones, there's something there.
Z Fold 2.
The Z Fold, whatever. No, the Flip's one and the Z's the other way. Yeah. Conflating everything. But I think folding screens, I don't know if they're ready yet. Davindra, you've had them, right?
Yeah, well, I've played around with some. I haven't reviewed any of the folding phones, but I've definitely touched them and used them for a little bit. And actually, last year when Microsoft first announced the Surface Duo and the Neo, which is going to be the Windows Snapdragon powered one, I was just more sold on this idea of 2 separate hinges or 2 separate screens
with
connected by a hinge.
Yes.
With a hinge, because this is that is far more durable than trying to fold a single screen over and over and over. You could flip it around, use just one screen. You can use both screens. You'll have to deal with the hinge. You'll always have something down the middle of the screen. That's unfortunate, but I think in terms of mobile multitasking,
I'd rather have that than a crease.
Yes.
And Microsoft says something kind of interesting, which sounds on the face of it just making lemonade out of a lemon, but I think it actually is sort of true. They say there's Panos Panay, you know how he is. There's something so sexy and magical about having
that guy talks, man. Yeah. I once did like an hour-long walk through Microsoft with him, just like briefing on something, and he is just so into it. He's so into all the Microsoft stuff, and you got to love it.
He's like, wow.
He's a true believer. Yeah.
So he says, and you know what? I think there's some merit in it, even though it's a little self-serving, that there's some sort of context switching that having the bezel and 2 separate screens instead of one unfolded big screen somehow is more productive. And it is true that one screen can have one app, another screen can have another app. They've created software that watches for this. And even if the apps are not dual screen aware, even though that's built into Android now, the phone will be smart enough to say, well, that's going to be in that one, that's going to be in that one. Mm-hmm. I think I can't wait to get my hands on one because I think it's been since 2007 that we've seen a new phone form factor that worked.
Yeah. I am excited, and honestly, I felt a little afraid to say I have been excited for this because everyone's just
it's just you and me. Everybody's so critical of it. Oh, it's too expensive. No NFC. It does the wireless charging. Where's the wireless charge? It's not waterproof. Why is waterproof? When did that become the most important factor in a phone? Were you guys all dropping it into the toilets? What are you doing?
I want to see that in every device just because things happen. My wife once left one of her phones, I think it was the original Pixel, out in the rain like we didn't know. It was on the deck and dead the next day.
Okay.
So
but don't leave your phone in the rain.
Don't leave your phone in the rain, but water spills, things happen, and these things are getting more expensive.
Okay.
But
all right.
Yeah, I'm excited about it. And even despite the price, sure, it's $1,400 to start, but man, our high-end phones have gotten to that point. The iPhone 11 Pro, the Note, like it's not over $2,000. It's not $2,500, which was what the Galaxy Fold launched at.
We don't know what the new Fold will be, but it's definitely going to be more than $1,500.
Yeah, and this is basically slightly more than the Galaxy Z Flip, which is the slightly smaller folding one that folds into like the little square. I'm not too fond of that phone, so this seems more in line with things. But yeah, it's launching September 10th. The Surface Duo is, so hopefully we'll be getting review units soon. I really want to play with it because it just seems so exciting. This is I want to do more. I always want to do more when I'm on mobile, and this is kind of the thing we've been waiting for so long.
It's funny because
I'm really excited about the Palm. That's my favorite phone.
Oh, shut up.
You can tell I haven't taken it out of the box yet.
Is that a new Palm? No.
Does that exist anymore?
Yeah, they just shipped a new one.
Oh God. Well, I haven't even unwrapped the old one, so.
It's not Palm itself. Somebody else is making a Palm.
Yeah, somebody else made it.
A Palm phone, but if you go to palm.com, you can get I don't know what this is.
It looks like a phone.
It's a phone.
That's
why I'm bored. I don't want another glass slab.
Yeah. Do you guys remember Snap bracelets?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's the technology I am waiting for. I want that kind of situation where I can just be like, and it's like nothing.
You want a phone that you wear on your wrist, you open it up and it's there, and then you go snap and it goes back on your wrist? Is that what you want?
Yes. Well, maybe not on your wrist. I don't know. Or maybe just something that I want something as flexible as that. You know what I mean? That I can sit up on a wall, or I can just make it.
Oh,
I can
I
make
agree
it
with
hard,
you.
And then I can make it roll up and Anyway,
we'll get there eventually.
Happen. And here is my very own Humphreys McGee.
There you go. See, wouldn't that be cool?
So imagine
if that was a phone.
And imagine hanging up. It would be so satisfying. Ben Brock Johnson, you're a nitwit. And then you hang up and it's a bracelet. Thank you, John.
So good.
Jammerby ran out of here to get his Humphreys McGee Death by Stereo snap bracelet. There, see, I needed to practice before I could really get it. So, okay, good, Davindra, because I read so many negative reviews after I got up at 6 a.m. I said, it's available, and I ordered it. And then I felt kind of bad. Like everybody said, you're an idiot. What'd you buy that for? That's a terrible phone.
We don't know how well it's going to perform, but I think based on what we know so far, the folding phones have so many issues. I don't trust them. I would much more trust this thing. Yeah. 2 separate screens.
It's not a technology. It's technology we understand. It's OLED screens.
Yeah.
It's a hinge.
Yeah. And a hinge. Separate screens, a hinge. And the hinge, too, is I feel like it's an undersung hero of the last decade, but Microsoft has spent so much time and energy perfecting its hinge technology with the Surface, and kind of everybody has had to start doing that now, too. So that's been the thing, powering all the convertible PCs, all the folding devices for the past, all the laptops for the past couple of years, too. So I don't know, the kind of geek in me just loves seeing hinge tech get to such a weird and intricate point, too.
Well, even Samsung spent time on the elaborate hinge that they learned from a Dyson vacuum cleaner.
The hinge cleaner. That's the hinge cleaner.
They have a little roller inside that gets the dust out. When they said that, that's when I decided, I thought, I'm not buying that phone. That's stupid.
So I don't have a hinged phone or any kind of folding phone, so I remain unhinged.
Oh, very good. You're unhinged.
I'm unhinged, but someday.
I just want phones to be exciting again. And
no, I agree. I'm constantly getting these in for review, and I got the Pixel 4a, which is nice. And by the way, my wife did drop it in the toilet, and it didn't break. That's good.
Nice.
But nothing exciting about it. It's just it works.
But
it's a nice
$350. That's super.
Yeah, or like the
That's
phone you were talking about earlier, the iPhone SE. These are you can now get a good.
That's a great phone
under $400.
Yeah. It's all the same guts as the current iPhone 11. It's not, it's a good phone.
Smaller.
It's just smaller.
Yeah. Which in some ways is good.
Yeah.
In some ways.
It's, I never really, it used to be because I was the tech guy and the gadget guy back in the early days. People would always ask me about phones. This is when they were like, the Nokia flip phone. It's like, I don't do phones, man. and then
not cool, man.
Not cool, man. I don't talk about phones. I talk about computers, man. And then the iPhone. Yeah, exactly. There it is.
This is one of my newer ones. I had the
Larry, what is with you and old phones? He's got one of those old giant battery things, and the microphone flips out, goes with that typewriter behind you.
I think I've showed you this one here. The camera on this is really hard to watch.
Yeah, it's,
how does that work? I don't get it.
And it even has a dial.
I asked my look at that. So isn't it funny how these tropes from devices that anybody under 25 has never seen before, like dial the phone? And I asked my daughter, she's 28, I said,
lose it.
Do people in your generation do the call me thing? Because their phones have never had an earpiece and a microphone piece. She said, nobody does that. It's old people who do that. It's call me. Yeah, call me. Yeah, put a flat. It's not the hang loose. Nobody does that anymore. That's
also very few people are actually holding the phones up to them. Yeah, it's all.
Well, that was the other thing.
Video thing. Yeah.
What is that all about? That's the most annoying thing in the world. You put the person on speaker, and then you hold the phone to your mouth and you talk like that, and the whole world hears every bit of your conversation. That
was basically. I have to say that's the thing I've seen the older generation do once they got to these phones.
Oh, it's old folks. Okay.
It's old. My dad because it's easier to hear.
My dad does that big time, and it's easier to hear. And actually, it disappoints me. I mean, it's ridiculous that he does it all the time. And there are people who I'm always like, do they know that they're on speakerphone right now? Who are like talking to him? You know what I mean? And I'm like, I guess most of them probably know, but that is like a huge failure. I feel like of modern tech companies in terms of dealing with folks who want a smartphone but can't hear it through the tiny little speaker.
I also think nobody wants to press the square of glass against their cheek.
It's flat. Yeah.
That is not a comfortable. If I have to talk on the phone like this for any length of time, I'm very unhappy.
So and that's probably part of the rise of like wireless earbuds and everything too. Like it is the easier way. I've always had headphones plugged in. Like I can't remember the last time I've had a long conversation with my phone held up, normally.
And how about wired? Is that gone? Is that dead? Wired headphones.
I think for most people, wired headphones, for most people, probably.
See, so that's when I saw the Duo, one of the things Microsoft showed, and I was kind of surprised, is a woman making a phone. First of all, they keep saying it's not a phone, but one of the big things was this woman holding it to her face, and it's big. It looks like a piece of lumber.
It's wide.
It's wide. Yeah. And I thought no one is going to use it that way. They're all going to have earbuds in. And you know what? It's going to look great because it's going to look like a little laptop. It's going to be slightly open. And you'll have the keyboard there. You might have the person's face on one screen and an app on another. It's going to be a very nice phone.
I think COVID-19 has been a great advertising for Apple AirPods. Almost everybody you see on
TV
now
on CNN, on MSNBC, they're all wearing, except for the Fox people. They've all got phones with dials held to their head.
They're probably using the ones I have.
They got a banana phone.
I should be on Fox. Why, I miss my call.
Actually, the truth is, old people, what you do is you pair your phone to your hearing aids.
Right. And that's people do that.
It works great. The first time I ever saw anybody do it, I saw Steve Martin talking like this to his phone. I'm saying, Steve, if you put it to your ear, you could hear it. He said, no, I hear it in my hearing aids. And his phone is like down at his waist and he's talking to it. I said, oh, that's cool. I actually bought hearing aids just so I could do that.
Well, I mean, that's what all the earbud stuff is moving towards now too. Like the new Samsung Galaxy Buds. Like, that's what it is what we want. It is both great and kind of terrifying. It's very much that Black Mirror episode where everybody just has earbuds on all the time and can't actually hear each other.
We're all walking around.
I just wish my Pixel Buds wouldn't keep popping out of my ear. I've yet to figure out.
Do you have the new ones?
Because the new ones, they pop out.
Everybody's hating the new ones. Do they drop out on you?
Yeah, they drop out on the ground as I'm walking, and then I have to worry about, did they get COVID when they hit the ground? So I get paranoid. I don't know if you get COVID through your ear.
Yeah. Huh. That's interesting.
This is why the necklace earbuds were always better, and we should stick with those, or at least keep those around.
But it's annoying to have something around your neck.
So the thing, especially when I started reviewing wireless earbuds, it's where do you put them when you need to talk to somebody? Do you have to carry the case around all the time? Do you have to put it in your front pocket?
That's a good point.
Have gotten lost? Yeah. Does anybody have any data on how many people have lost their wireless?
Well, I have data on me. I've lost 3 sets of AirPods.
Exactly.
Before I stopped. Before I stopped buying. Yeah, half of 3 sets. Yeah. You can buy. I didn't know this. Apple sells individual AirPods.
Yes.
Did they do the research on that and figure out how much money they were going to make? Do you think?
No kidding.
Probably
kidding.
Part of it. And here's the thing: wearing something around your neck isn't great, but when I was wearing those, they never fall on the floor. I put them down around the Beats X, which is the undersung and unloved Apple, earbuds. Hang those around and nothing happens to them. They're perfectly fine.
I like these. I got them on Amazon. Scott Wilkinson recommended them from a company called One More, and they have. Well, actually, this may not be the ones, but they have a necklace. They have a little, and the microphone's in the necklace, which is really great. Now, these aren't them. Let me see if I can find them. The microphone's in the necklace, so the microphone's closer to your mouth. It just makes sense, but it feels kind of. It looks like I'm wearing a weird collar. It feels.
Sure.
It's these right here. So she's wearing them, and they go around your neck like you got a little dog collar.
I don't like the collars, but the Beats X, there are a whole bunch, the ones actually to the left of what you were looking at, the ones without the collar, with just a clean wire all the way around.
Oh, great. So the original Pixel Buds where they're attached. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, then when you let go, they just hang around your neck.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And then, of course, you could get one of these guys, which would allow you to plug in a regular old-fashioned headphone.
No.
If that's what you want to do.
No. We actually, with the removal of the headphone jack, Apple has really created a problem, I think. I don't know what the good solution is. I do wear those aftershocks. They were an advertiser for a while. They're over ear. They don't go in your ear because they're bone conductance. And so you can wear them all the time, and then you hear things, everything's normal, but you can also hear a phone call or music or voice. So I don't know.
I wonder if that's legal. In California, you're not allowed to wear earphones when you're driving.
But see, these aren't in your ear, so I think they would be legal. Yeah. They're specifically for runners, bicyclers, anybody who I wear them because then my wife could talk to me while I'm listening to something. They're not great for music, but they're fine for voice, and they're actually really good for phone calls. I don't know. I feel like we took away the headphone jack without a really good replacement. I don't know what.
Don't worry, the Apple ear implants are coming soon.
That's what we need, baby.
Plug it right in.
John, we have a promo, right? Do we have a promo? Let's take a break and watch a little video that we made of some of the fun things that happened this week.
Previously on Twit.
A stunning Star Wars shirt, I might add.
Rebel Alliance symbols. It's got all-terrain armored transports.
It doesn't pick sides.
Only a Sith believes in absolutes.
Yes.
This is my permanent Star Wars, so I think I got
Whoa!
Tech News Weekly.
I just got the Samsung Galaxy Note 20 Ultra.
That is a mouthful.
And is it also a handful?
Yeah!
Yes. Ding, ding, ding. You got it.
Windows Weekly.
So clear at this point that Trump is completely puppet mastering this TikTok thing. Because now you've got Oracle in the mix.
It will slot in right between their database products. And what the hell does this company even make?
Java.
Mac Break Weekly.
I think both Apple and Epic forget in this that they are responsible for a huge dependency for many other. Yeah, and if either Apple or Epic does anything to jeopardize the Unreal Engine, it's not just them who suffer.
Hands-on Android.
Today, I want to talk you through side-loading of apps. There are times when you might want an app outside of the Play Store. Take Fortnite, for example.
Oh. Twit. Some assembly required.
Fortnite, eh? I hear that's a pretty good game. I'm going to try that. Thank you, all of you, for a great week on Twit. And don't forget, a whole bunch more great stuff coming up in the week to come. Let's take a tiny break. We'll get back with more of the stories of the week. Our show today brought to you by our good friends at Salesforce. Salesforce, in particular, the Salesforce Service Cloud. Salesforce Service Cloud wants you to be prepared during these unknown times. I understand you're trying to do more with less resources, fewer resources. You're hustling to adapt to new customer needs, and you got to innovate business to respond to the current environment. It all really comes down to satisfied customers, right? That's your business. That means you need a platform that performs quickly and efficiently to meet the customer's needs. That's why Salesforce Service Cloud is the world's #1 customer service platform. It lets organizations deliver service however your customers want it, anywhere, anytime. Works fully out of the box, could be completely customized. You make it work for you. You can respond to customer needs on any channel they want, whether it's chat, SMS, WhatsApp, Facebook Messenger. You could do it from home, in the field, at the office. You can provide instant support with self-service portals. Often customers prefer to do that. They want articles, account info, other community members to help them find answers. It helps you do that. It's got built-in AI chatbots that'll help you without a lot of work on your part to resolve customer issues quickly. And then your service team, of course, gets the tools they need to provide an unforgettable customer experience. You're going to resolve cases faster with their suite of intelligent productivity tools. It gives your user agents, your customer service agents, a complete shared view of every customer, every interaction. You can use the capability of personalizing every customer conversation, so it's not a cookie cutter, and your agents can always respond with exactly the right level of service. I don't care how big or how small you are. Serving customers is job one, and there's no better, more fast, flexible platform than the Salesforce Service Cloud. You want to be a trailblazer. You want to provide world-class service anytime, anywhere, whether through messaging, chat, phone, self-service, or in person. You need the Salesforce Service Cloud. We're a Salesforce house, and this is one great way we could provide support to all of our users. Over 150,000 companies keep their customers happy with Salesforce. Provide your customer service agents with a fast, flexible service platform that keeps you and your customers happy. And as you can see, it's very easy to set up and very easy to use and very affordable. Bit.ly is the link, bit.ly/Salesforce for service, all one word. bit.ly/Salesforce for service to find out how the world's #1 service platform can help grow your business. bit.ly/Salesforce for service. It's Vishing. Vishing is the new threat. Vishing. Watch out. The FBI and CISA, the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, who I've never heard from before, but apparently they exist, on Thursday issued a joint alert to warn about vishing attacks. You've heard of phishing with a PH. You heard of spear phishing. Now vishing with a V, it's voice phishing. And we're seeing more and more of this, in particular with work at home, as a way to get VPN credentials. And of course, once you got the VPN and the credentials, you can log into the company network. And it's yours, baby. It's all yours. What they're doing is they're setting up phishing sites, traditional phishing sites, that have the target company's name dash service or support or dash ticket, like twit-service.com. And then they do social engineering. They actually make voice calls, especially new hires at the targeted company. And they say things like, yeah, I know you're on our VPN platform right now. We're about to move platforms. We want to, of course, bring your account over so this is seamless for you. So I need your login and I need your password so we can move you over. And apparently it's very effective. They're using unattributed voice over IP address phone numbers. They call employees on their personal cell phone. And then once they succeed, they can expand the attack to incorporate spoofed numbers of other offices and employees. So it looks like it's coming from Dan in accounting. They will pose as the IT help desk. They'll use what they already know about the employee's personally identifiable information, name, position, duration of company. Hey, this is Joe, right? You just joined. You've been here 6 weeks, right? I think you're working from home. Are you still living on Claxton Street? Yeah. So we've moved the VPN. We need your account login. Okay, and by the way, I'm getting the two-factor. Is the digit? Are you getting the 6 digits 643911? You're not. What are you getting? Oh, I'm sorry. All right, I better reset that. Okay. Well, thanks, Dan. We got you set up. You'll be on the new VPN soon. Thank you. And of course,
you'd be very good at this.
I'm good at it, aren't I?
You're good.
That's believable, right? That's believable.
Yeah.
They get through the two-factor. They get through, and I mean, this is awesome. It's very effective, and apparently, it's becoming a big problem. And of course, once they're in, they can put ransomware on the network. They can put rats on the network. They can keep an eye on everything going on. Brian Krebs has a good article on this. I mention it probably because it's a good idea for you who listen to our show. You're too smart to fall for this, but maybe it's time to mention this to your company or your coworkers. Be suspicious of unsolicited phone calls or email messages or texts or even visits. Sometimes they come to your door. And whatever you do, do not give them the login to your VPN.
Yep.
It's also a problem because people post stuff on social networking kind of blithely, and that's a great resource. So that's our security warning for the week. Vishing. I wish you
Sounds
do
like
not have.
Yeah, what is it? It's I don't know what the accent is, but it's I like
Vishing.
it.
I wish to suck your blood.
I wish, yeah.
I come to wish you.
Vidi vidi vici vishing.
Vishing, that's right. That's Caesar. I think it was Caesar said that. Yeah. I came, I saw, I
vished.
I'm a little
about this.
As long as I'm on Krebs on security, I'm a little miffed about this one. We talked a little bit about it on security now as well. Microsoft has known about a 0-day for 2 years. Poo-pooed it for 2 years, even though it was being exploited. They only fixed it on August 11th on their Patch Tuesday. It was one of the record number 120 security holes fixed last Tuesday. And this is a bad vulnerability, which was discovered a long time ago. And I think I know why it happened. I think I finally figured out why it happened. So the way you would exploit this is you would take an MSI file. Those are the installer files Microsoft uses on Windows. And those are authenticated. They use authenticate certificates to validate it. So it won't run if the certificate doesn't match. But Microsoft left a little loophole in that. And I think it's for localization. So you've got the installer file. It's all written in English, but maybe you want to make it available in China as well or Japan. So there's a capability to add at the end of a file the localization strings for different languages. And that's always been part of MSI. Here's the problem. You're now modifying it. You'd have to get a new certificate. So Microsoft said, no. We'll do the authenticode on the main thing. We'll assume that the sidecar with localization strings, that's harmless. We won't bother including that in the certificate. Well, it didn't take long before people realized two things. First of all, you could put anything at the end of one of these MSI files, and Microsoft would just say, yeah, it's fine. It's not modified in any way we think is significant. But then the second big realization was, it turns out Java, I didn't know this, but Java looks at jar files, starts at the back, because that's where the symbols are, and then looks for the code to jump to main. It looks at the back. It doesn't start at the front. Most programs run from the front to the back. It runs from the back to the front. So some wise guy a couple of years ago said, oh, look, if we do a simple copy, literally a copy, you copy an MSI file to a jar file, a malicious Java file. It'll join them two together. The authenticode signature will still work. Somebody who runs that file will think they're running a Microsoft installer file. In fact, they're running a jar file, and Java will jump in and execute the end. And you're in. This literally was discovered 2 years ago by Bernardo Quintero from VirusTotal. He's the manager over there. It's a Google service that scans submitted files. He wrote a blog post January 15th, 2019, explaining how it works. According to Quintero, Microsoft's security team said, yeah, that's right. But that's intended behavior, so we're not going to address it.
Almost sounds like it was a backdoor meant for somebody.
Well, that's the other theory is maybe the NSA said, yeah, it'd be nice if you left that.
Yeah, we really need it.
Because, you could easily fix this. You just say, no, you can't. You can't just add anything arbitrarily to the back of an MSI file. And they have fixed it. Apparently, they fixed it because it was being used regularly by bad guys.
Ugh.
Not great, Bob.
Not great, Bob.
Not great. Not great.
No, Bob.
Reminds me of, I don't know if this is the same thing, but do you guys see the story about the secret government iPod?
Yes.
Yeah, I heard about that.
I wonder, how many of these weird, agreements and things happen between these companies and the government.
I have to say, I hadn't really thought about that. But of course, if the NSA is using that to actively exploit somebody, and Microsoft says, well, we better fix this, they might say, it would be nice if you left that flying around a little bit longer.
Yeah.
Nevertheless, I think that's not a good policy because, of course, a lot of people are going to get bit by that. It's not a surprise. We have a massive ransomware problem right now.
Mm-hmm.
Garmin and the latest Canon lost photos, lots of people's photos because they got bit by ransomware. Oh, speaking of losing photos, here's another one. This is so annoying. It didn't bite me, but just by the luck and the grace of God, it didn't bite me. If you use Lightroom on iOS, an update wiped out all your photos and presets. And Adobe said, yeah, and they're not, you can't recover that. Yeah, oops, we're sorry. What was that, Bob? I don't know how many people were bit by this, but a lot of people I think use Lightroom now on iOS. It's a really good way to do your photos. Mm-hmm. If you did what Adobe wants you to do, which is use Adobe Cloud and sync your photos and presets, you're okay. It would have been saved. But if you didn't, because you didn't want to spend the money, then this update just clobbered it all.
Yeah. Wouldn't be a shame if that happened again.
Yeah.
I don't know if this is directly related or not, but my brother was visiting me recently, and he said he has a laptop that's ancient, an Apple laptop that's ancient, and I was like, well, why don't you get a new one? And he said, I'm worried about all my iTunes music and how I won't be able to put it anywhere for me to listen to. And I feel like there's this thing that's happening. I mean, where you upload all of your stuff into the cloud and whatever, and you could potentially lose all of it. It just seems like you should be able to have a hardened backup for that.
Yeah.
Right?
I worry about
the company should build it for you, and yeah.
Well, actually, and so if you used Adobe's backup, you'd be okay. But the problem is it's expensive. And the problem also is, I wonder if you backed up your iPad, would you still have it? I don't know. I mean, I would think you would. I don't know.
I worry about I'm not so much worried about somebody hacking into my bank account and stealing my money. I just have this fear that one day my bank is going to lose all records of how much money I have. And how do I prove to them that I really do have?
It actually actively terrifies me, Larry, because you and I are getting to an age where we're our savings are what we're going to live on pretty soon.
Right.
Our retirement savings. And
I actually do keep printouts of my, I once in a while go and print out so I can say, no, look, I got this much money. But
yeah, I mean, I don't know if maybe I should move it, split it up into 10 parts. I guess that's what some people do.
Yeah.
That's inconvenient.
Yep.
I don't know what I'm going to do.
I've got this investment portfolio, and it's all of one company, and if they ever lost
me too. Exactly.
How can I prove it? It's my entire net worth.
My whole net worth. Yeah.
All $15.26.
So this secret iPod is an interesting story that kind of came out from a former iPod engineer, David Shayer. He was the second software engineer hired in 2001. And he no longer works for Apple, but he posted on Tidbits a post saying, a funny thing happened to me back in 2005. The director of iPod software, my boss's boss, without knocking, walked in, closed the door behind me. He said, I have a special assignment for you. Your boss doesn't know about it. You're going to help two engineers from the Department of Energy build a special iPod. Report only to me. The next day, these two guys, Paul and Matthew, show up. He said, I would like to say they wore dark glasses and trench coats, but they were perfectly normal 30-something engineers. They went to the conference room. They actually didn't work for DOE. They worked for a contractor, Bechtel. They wanted to add some custom hardware to an iPod to record data from this custom hardware to the iPod's disk in a way that would be invisible. So the iPod had to look and work like a normal iPod. You wouldn't be able to see the data if you mounted the iPod. They would do all the work. I was just there to help, to consult. So he never did learn what it was for. But what could it be for? And you can think of actually the spy uses for this, right? No, you know, you're going into a top secret nuclear installation. You're going to get a tour. Or no, maybe it's not a nuclear installation. Maybe it's just a medical facility or something innocuous. You're going to get a tour, and they're going to look at you. They're going to search you. You're going to say, what is this? Oh, it's iPod. I love iPod. Britney Spears, America, great country. And you put it back in your pocket. Say, yeah, maybe they're really careful, and they plug it in and play something. Let me listen. Oh, I love Britney Spears. No problem. Put it back in. And it turns out it's, he suspected maybe a Geiger counter.
Yeah.
We'll never know because there's no record of this. It's all been wiped out. It happened and no one knows. So you're right. I bet
we have
this
our own
happens a lot.
conspiracy theories.
Yeah, it probably happens a lot. Yeah.
You don't have to be a right winger to have a conspiracy theory.
It was the 5th generation iPod, the iPod with video. Fairly easy to open the case and close it without leaving obvious marks. Plus 60 gig drive, lots of room to record extra data.
Yeah. And the hackable one, the one they didn't sign, I think that was the last one.
Oh, that was key, right. They didn't have to sign it. Yeah, so the software could be modified without any issue. Nowadays, you can't do that. You have to get Apple to sign it. It would be much more complicated. I don't know. It's a cool story. The custom iPod that never existed. Only 4 people at Apple knew about it. Me, the director of iPod software, the vice president of the iPod division, and the senior vice president of hardware. None of us still work at Apple. There was no paper trail. All communication was in person. In fact, he could be making this up completely.
This sounds like an episode of Mission Impossible.
It does. Your mission. Yeah. This iPod will self-destruct in 10 minutes. All right, let's take one more break, and then we'll talk about Lyft and Uber because.
And also, can we talk about air quality at some point after the break?
Yeah, I want to show this site you found. This is really cool. Yeah. It really only applies to us in Northern California because we can't.
Well, no,
breathe.
Idaho. The air quality the air is going east, and
so they're getting the smoke from our fires.
Some people are, yeah. Eastern Idaho.
Sorry about that. Yep. We are literally here as we sit in the Twit studio surrounded by active wildfires that are, for the most part, not under control in any way. So if I suddenly jump out and run out of the studio, you'll know why. There's a chat room knows this link to this. There's a webcam somewhere that was on the fire line, and it's a pretty dramatic picture of just a wall of fire, and then it went offline.
You can see why.
Yeah, you can see why. Our show today brought to you by Monday.com, a team management platform that is awesome if you're working in a distributed team these days. In fact, that's probably the way it's going to be forever right now. Your team can plan, manage, and track work in one centralized place, know exactly what's going on, who's doing what, how they're doing, easily, automatically. You can collaborate with teammates. You can track everything your team's working on wherever you are, and they have templates for every industry. There's a podcast template. Ben, you should take a look at this. So if you work with a team of 5 people or 5,000, Monday.com is the easiest way to keep everybody connected and on track. It's a project management platform that makes effective teamwork possible anywhere, even from home. You keep all, and nowadays, I honestly think even after COVID, this is just going to be the way people do stuff. So many companies are using it. We're using it now. It's really cool. Keep your teams work in one place. No matter where the team is, they'll all have one single source of truth they can look at. That it's easy to track and manage work, so you always know who's doing what and when it's due and what their progress is. It's also, you can eliminate check-in meetings because you just go to the dashboard. You say, I see exactly where we stand. It's a great way to onboard new team members and get up to speed instantly. You'll get up to speed with remote-ready templates. They're already built in. And you can even get an onboarding specialist to work with you. We got Eddie to work with us. It was really cool. And incorporate it. He'll help you set it up, or she'll help you set it up so that it works for you. It works with everything you're already using. You don't get rid of anything. We use Zoom, we use Slack, we use email calendars. We're big on Google Docs. All of that just integrates automatically. In fact, they have no-code automations so that your workflow is completely automated. You don't even have to do anything, but you've got this single dashboard. You've got all these places you're working, but you've got this single dashboard that says exactly where you stand. And if you are using data to decide, if you're planning, if you can make data-driven decisions easily because you don't have to guess. You've got all the data right in front of you. Progress, timelines, budgets, in any form you like. I know some people like Gantt charts. They've got that, but they've got timelines. They've got Kanban boards. If you like using kind of tables like spreadsheets, they've got that too. Any form you want. That's what's beautiful about this. It's very customizable, makes it very easy to use. You can make it work the way you work. You can use the tools you already use, but now you've got a dashboard that tells you exactly where you stand. No wonder 100,000 teams are already getting things done with Monday.com. You could try it free for 2 weeks. It'll change the way you work online with a centralized place everyone can use to keep track of what's going on. Let Monday.com take care of the things that slow you down, free you up so you can focus on the work that gets you excited. Start your free 14-day trial right now, Monday.com/twit. Monday, MONDAY.com/twit. It's slick. Works really
It looks satisfying to use. The graphics look good.
Yeah, it's pretty. It's what we used to call Web 2.0. What is it, Web 3 now? With 4 or 5? What version of the...
Gosh.
What the version of the web are we at right now? I don't know.
I think 0.1 at this point, going backwards.
This is one of the first times in weeks we haven't had somebody who works for CNET or do you work for Engadget's? No, you're part of Oath, right?
No longer Oath. It's Verizon Media.
Okay.
So, yeah.
I'm so confused. Apparently, Viacom CBS, the old CBS Interactive, is thinking about selling CNET. But can you believe it's worth $500 million? According to the Wall Street Journal, they're talking to Red Venture, a digital-focused holding company. It's always a holding company. I don't know why. It's not the first thing Viacom CBS has sold off since the merger. They sold off Simon & Schuster.
They sold me off a few weeks ago.
They sold off Larry Magid.
Yeah, really.
By the way, didn't CBS paid over nearly $2 billion for season? So this is a bad thing.
Let's not mention that.
This is bad. This is bad for them.
They will be losing about $1.5 billion on the deal.
Okay.
Yikes.
Not so good.
Yikes.
Not so good. All of these big mergers seem to pan out poorly, don't they?
Yeah, the Viacom CBS merger did not pan out well for a lot of employees.
Well, yes, initially for employees, but ultimately I think the companies also don't fare that well. I think, the HP Compaq deal or the Time Warner
the AOL deal.
AOL deal,
Yeah. Hey, guys, I don't know what you're talking about. I think the Verizon
Oh, it's such a good deal.
Perfectly.
Such a good deal.
Yeah, it's great.
Oh, it worked great. Of course it did. Look at Engadget's. Actually, you know where it does work well? Where they give you autonomy. Where they don't try to shoehorn you into a larger corporate structure. And I think that's what's happened with Engadget, right? They've kept the personality.
I don't know how the stuff works up top, but generally, yeah, nobody's causing problems with us, which is nice.
I'm just going to wait. Eventually, this holding company will want to sell it, and I might be able to buy CNET, which would be a great... Yeah. We'll do a Kickstarter. It would be just a great full circle kind of a thing. Okay, let's talk about Uber and Lyft. It's on and it's off. It's on again. I think they got an injunction. Appeals court has, for a while, Lyft said, we're leaving. Uber said, we're leaving California. The appeals court has now put on hold the requirement that the company, Lyft and Uber, treat their drivers as employees and not contract employees. Right. All of this comes from AB 5, a very controversial bill from the California state legislature. Which
a bill that's cost me a lot of money.
Yeah.
Not as an employer, as an employee, as a contractor. I've actually had to create an LLC so I could continue writing a weekly column for the Mercury News because they couldn't pay me as a freelancer anymore. So now I have to pay hundreds of dollars a year in extra fees that I wouldn't have had to pay otherwise to the state.
Davindra, do you have contractors in California? Do you have employees?
I don't know how it works for us, but I have a lot of friends. I have a lot of freelancer friends who are based in California and working in entertainment in Hollywood. And it's been a nightmare. And I honestly have no idea how California keeps pushing through this, even though everyone's saying you're killing freelancers by doing this. I have no idea what's going on.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think the initial instinct here was to protect employees who are treated as contractors when they're really employees so that the company can avoid paying benefits. And I think it was particularly aimed at Uber and Lyft. Mm-hmm. But
it's a good impulse,
Yeah, but it had really unintended consequences against a lot of people in our business who want to be freelancers.
Right. And Facebook, and my son's a musician, and he hires musicians, so that's causing a real problem in that world as well. You hire a guy to do one session, you have to make an employee. I mean, that's kind of a nutty. And they may have made some exceptions. They made one exception with journalism, if you can write up to 35 times a year. But again, if you're writing a weekly column, then you've got to either become an employee or set up an LLC.
Those of us in California see pretty much constant advertising from Uber, Lyft, Instacart, and DoorDash because they have a ballot measure that's we're going to vote on November 3rd, Prop 22, that would create a third category of employment, which would include some benefits. There'd be a minimum wage, auto insurance, vehicle maintenance costs, a healthcare stipend. This is basically Uber and Lyft's response. Well, we want to keep these guys, but we want to create this category, and we'll kick in a little bit. They've spent now more than $110 million on the Yes on 22 campaign, and I've seen those ads. And the ads are heart-tugging. I'm a single mom, and the only way I can keep my kids, I want to be home for them when they're in school, but the only way I can keep our family afloat is to work on my schedule, and that's what DoorDash lets me do. I see these ads all the time. I will be shocked if 22 does not pass. Mm-hmm. We'll see. So Uber and Lyft get a little reprieve until this vote can happen.
But one thing I do want to say, though, is that one of the reasons why this bill got through is because big companies like Facebook and Google, and I think Apple, employ people who work for contractors and pay them less, give them fewer benefits, and they do exactly the same kind of work as regular employees do. So it's not as if there isn't a problem. I don't want to, suggest.
No, that's exactly right.
Yes. Not well motivated.
Yeah.
I was going to say there's a lot of this in public radio land. Of people, and there all these sort of strange rules. 1,000 hours. When I worked in New York at WNYC, there was 1,000 hours rule. But there's a lot of folks who are essentially contractors, but they're doing the same jobs as the folks who are not contractors, and the company just doesn't seal the deal with them and make them true employees and gets away with it. It's a problem.
It would have put John C. Dvorak out of work because he wrote, in fact, when I was working with him on the radio, he very famously wrote a column a day for one journal or another. I mean, he wrote literally a column I don't think he wrote a whole lot of them, but a column a day. And he wasn't an employee of any of these places, but he made a very nice living doing that. And I don't see why somebody shouldn't be allowed to do that, but with some protections, I guess, against
another
predatory companies.
If you're a private contractor, you have certain tax advantages like office at home, the ability to write off your car. Right. Those go away when you become an employee. So again, I'm not saying that there wasn't a reason, but you really have to think of the unintended consequences of the jobs like this.
Well, not to mention you have to start paying, the company pays half your Social Security.
That's the good news.
That's the good news, yeah.
But your tax benefit...
Part of the problem exists, honestly, really, this is a Band-Aid to cover the real big problem here, which is that most people in the United States get their health care through a job.
Yes.
As an employee. And so if you're a contractor, you don't have health care. And that's a big problem. We could solve this as Canada has, as Britain has, as every major developed nation in the world has.
Leo, we cannot get this country to wear masks. We're not. How hard is it going to be to get actual?
My friend Rene Ritchie it's awesome. Yeah. He lives in Quebec, and he said, I want to stop working as an employee for iMore. I'd like to do my own thing on YouTube. And one of the key factors in his decision is I don't have to pay for health care because I'm in Quebec. I have nationalized health care. Mm-hmm. So I honestly think this is part of this is a symptom of a larger problem, which is that in America, your health care in most cases, comes from your employer. And if you don't have an employer, you have to do it yourself. And that can be outrageously expensive.
It's also a problem with historic unemployment that we're going through right now. Think of all of the millions of people who, for no fault of their own, lost a job, and they are also going to lose their health care as a result of that.
Right. Fresh air quality is not something easily found here in the Bay Area right now. Larry has a great piece in Forbes about a website this is a federal website, fire.airnow.gov, or is it state? No, it's the EPA.
No, it's federal.
Yeah.
It's EPA, yeah. So, by the way, you can access this column through larrysworld.com, so you don't have to hunt it down at Forbes. But, yeah, there's airnow.gov, which is what I've been using up until now. And where I live in Palo Alto, if I click on Air Now, it tells me my air quality. But it turns out that the sensor is in Redwood City, which is about 11 miles from here.
Yeah. It's funny because on my Apple,
a completely different world.
On my Apple phone, I got the air quality because I really want to know. I know it's bad. I can smell the smoke. And it got me the air quality for Healdsburg, which is 20 or 30 miles away. And it's right in the middle of the fire. So, of course, it's going to be worse.
Right. So with this fire.airnow.gov, if I get that right, you actually they actually have microsensors, as they say, much less expensive and smaller. I don't know if they're as accurate as the official EPA ones, but the EPA has backed this as a beta project, pilot project, and it will tell you, in my case, there's a sensor, I think, on my block, because when I go there on the map, it's right next to my house. I see what the conditions are, so I'm getting a much more local one. There are others too. I think Purple Air is a crowdsourced.
I've used Purple Air. In fact, last time we had the fires, I went to Purple Air all the time.
Yeah, but there are links to all these.
This is interesting. So this is actually the nearest one to us is a Purple Air sensor, and it says our air quality is 152, which is not good. You do not want to be breathing that.
Oh, I didn't realize that Purple Air was so they're part of the EPA network. That's very interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the one nearest us. Here's another one that's not so far away. Let's see if that's also Purple Air. Yeah, it's another Purple Air. 151. Yeah, it's not good.
And by the way, you can buy these Purple Air sensors they start at about $197 if you want to.
I wouldn't mind.
To have your own.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind doing that.
Although I have a Dyson air purifier, which will give me the air quality in my home. I'm not sure how accurate it is, but apparently it's okay in my house.
Yeah. This map is also useful because it has also little flames where the fires are. And this is one of the problems we have. There's fires to the east of us, fires to the west of us, fires to the north of us, fires to the south of us. There's not really anywhere we can go.
Stuck in the middle with you.
Stuck in the middle with flames. But I think because of where Twit is, we're probably all right, John. We're surrounded by paved park. We're in an office park. So there are some trees. At home might be a little different. John, you're all right. You're in downtown. I think you're going to be okay. My house, however, is surrounded by acres of dry grass. That's not flammable, is it?
The only good news about this air pollution is that we all have masks now. And so if you're too stupid to wear a mask for COVID, wear one for air pollution.
The funny thing is, I had masks at the beginning of this COVID because I still had leftover N95 masks from the last time we had fires.
Me too.
It was the wrong kind. It was the one with outbound valves. Yeah.
Well, what I do is I wear a cloth mask over my N95.
That doesn't look weird at all.
I don't care the way it looks. I just don't want to get it or give it.
John and I... Did you buy the UV mask? John and I bought a $100 Kickstarter mask, and I think that they made their I know I got charged just the other day. Yeah, I think they made their goal, It is a mask. It is an active mask. Let me see if I can find it. Well, actually, I should be able to just click. Yeah, all day active UVC filtering. This thing, it has a battery, and it's probably going to weigh 8 pounds. And it's got a little vortex that it passes all the air you're breathing through the vortex, and then UVC filter, not filter, light. So it's purifying it. So it would be no good against smoke, John. It's not going to do anything for smoke, but we won't get. But then we won't get COVID.
Let's hope by the hot trend, by the way, the active masks. Yeah.
Yeah, this is cuckoo. I don't know. We both ordered it just for fun, I think.
See, up until recently, I wouldn't have ordered this because I would have thought that COVID's going to go away. But now I'm not convinced
it's going to go away. It is going to go away.
Yeah, like magic.
Like magic. It may not be till next year, but it's going to. Actually,
eventually.
You know what? The Spanish flu, misnamed because it came. I think they think it came from Kansas. The Kansas flu in 1918, not 1917. Sorry, that's a movie. In 1918, is still with us. That's H1N1. That's our flu. But it just as you know, one of the problems with these flus is they metastasize. No, what is the word I'm trying to remember?
They evolve.
Mutate. They evolve.
They mutate. Yeah.
So it evolved to a less deadly form, the H1N1 bug, but it's still endemic. It's still all over the place. It's never.
And it still kills people.
Still kills people.
It's less deadly, but it
people
kills.
still don't take the vaccines. We have the vaccines, and people still don't take it. So
we may have COVID
the vaccines aren't perfect. What scares me about the vaccines for COVID is if they're like the flu vaccine, they're going to protect about maybe half, 70% of us. I'll still take it, once it's effective and safe, but it's not. It's no panacea.
As Goleman says in the chat room, the good thing is that the pandemic, at least it stopped World War II.
World War II.
No, it didn't.
Maybe prevented World War III.
Maybe COVID will prevent World War III. I told my wife, I said, save the mask, because I bet this isn't the last time we have a pandemic. I know that's the thing you don't. That's the thought you don't want to utter.
I've been thinking about that with my kids. Like my kids, they're 3 years and 3 months, and so I'm thinking, if we get a vaccine in the next year, they'll never remember this.
That's
but
true.
I'm worried that that's not what it's going to be. I'm worried that it's going to be, I suppose there's another, it's not a good way to look at it, but there is another way to look at it, which is if it happens over and over, then this is just their reality for the rest of their lives, and they'll never know that it was actually better.
Right. But remember, we've had SARS, we had MERS, we've already had, in the last 20 years, a number of these. It just happened that they didn't escape, they didn't go pandemic, just by virtue of their morphology. I think there's no reason to believe that
the places those viruses hit, by the way, dealt with them properly, right? That's why Singapore and a lot of the Southeast Asian countries, they were able to deal with COVID quickly because they had gone through this whole process. Yeah.
Also places where people will wear a mask now if they're sick.
Yes.
So if we don't use this as a lesson to start listening to scientists, climate change is going to get us anyway, or get your kids anyway. That's really.
Hey, I just found out some good news. We don't have to worry about any of this because we're going to be clobbered by an asteroid the day before Election Day.
Day before.
The day before.
Trump had a way to get out of it.
NASA says, hey, here it comes. November 2nd, celestial object 2018 VP1, which is a 6.5-foot asteroid. NASA said, look.
That's fine.
It's only a 0.41% chance of it hitting us.
I think the Democrats are doing that as a way to rig the election.
We have to tell you. We have to tell you. Chances are pretty good. It's not that big, 6.5 feet. If it were to enter our planet's atmosphere, it'd just disintegrate. So really, it's just a big ass shooting star. So
it's just a very, very another major symbol of the hellscape of this year.
Yeah.
Right. Like
if it weren't the year 2020, I would not tell you this story. But just our luck. This is the one that's going to get us the day before Election Day. Anyway, that's a nasty way to end this show, and I apologize. It's not. It's gonna burn up. You're gonna be.
This
fine.
is why you should vote early, just in case.
Oh yeah, good point. Oh, there you go.
Be competent running the country.
Vote early. That's a good point. Yeah, you might not get a chance on Monday to vote on Tuesday, so vote on Sunday. That's a good. There you go. Yeah.
Vote weeks before, please. Come on.
Okay. Yeah. Why wait?
Better message to end on. That's good. Vote early.
Let's see. Ben Brock Johnson's at WBUR Radio, where he is executive producer of podcasts and a great guy. He's at The Brock Johnson. And it's always a pleasure to have you on. We appreciate it. Thank you, Ben.
Likewise. It's great to see you all.
Yeah, good to see you. Thank you, Larry Magid. I'm glad you have had some fun at the Beeb. That's pretty prestigious. You're going from the Tiffany Network to the Beeb. That's pretty good.
But not as much fun as being on Twit. That's a lot of fun.
Well, I don't know. Now you're prepared. If they ask you about that asteroid, you'll know exactly. What do you talk? You talk about tech, right?
Yeah, I do tech business. Yeah, like tech, and it's it's kind of a fill-in position. I don't know how long I'm going to be there, but it made me feel good when I because what happened was I posted on Facebook about the CBS thing, and somebody from the BBC had read that and said, "Hey, join us."
Oh, I say you'd be jolly good on our show. Do the questions they ask, are they different than the kinds of things you get asked in American media?
Yeah, because I actually work mostly out of the Singapore bureau. They ask me a lot about Asia. They're very interested in how this is going to affect China, how this is going to affect, or not China, but they're really interested in TikTok and in China. A lot of Asian orientation. So I've had to learn a lot more about tech in Asia than I ever knew before.
Well, I think that you can make a case this might be the Chinese century. We shall see.
Could be.
Yeah.
We shall see.
Thank you, Larry. Great to have you on. ConnectSafely.org is the site to remember. That's the site where you can find out how to protect your kids online. It's also a great place to find out what Larry's up to. ConnectSafely.org. And Davindra Hardware, it's so great to talk to you from your new Atlanta satellite studio.
Yeah. All prepping up here. It's all echo now, but eventually I will get more foam. I will get some things to make this room.
Did you get
proper,
the perfect house? Yeah. Are you super happy?
It's really cute. I have not lived in a house for since before college, so getting used to not being in an apartment and dealing with house maintenance, all that fun stuff. But hey, this is good, and I kind of wanted a safe zone to be prepared for this pandemic or future pandemic. So hey, we have a little zone. Which is
I don't want to say anything, but a city named Peachtree Corners does sound kind of like where the Stepford Wives might happen. I'm just thinking.
I mean, every suburb is like that.
Keep an eye on your wife. I'm just saying, if she starts to seem a little odd, okay, I'm warning you.
Well, she's a New Yorker, so a lot of it is getting her used to things.
That's right. This is your neck of the woods, not hers. Yeah. So you're coming home.
I mean, I grew up in Hartford.
Speaking of the Beeb, they need me on the air, so I'm going to sign off.
All right.
Take
care, Larry. Thank you, Davindra. Thank you so much. Great to talk to you, Ben. Thank you.
Yeah, likewise.
You all have a great day. Stay safe.
You too, man.
Maybe pretend you live in Peachtree Corners. It just sounds like a nice place to be.
Very chill.
Very chill. Where all the children are above average. Take care, guys. We do Twit every Sunday afternoon, right about 2:30 Pacific, 5:30 Eastern. That would be 21:30 UTC. If you can actually watch live or listen to live stream, not everybody does. Most people don't, but it's kind of fun if you got something to do, nothing to do on a Sunday afternoon or evening. You can come by, and if you're watching or listening live, you should probably join us in the chat room. That's where the conversation, the back channel is irc.twit.tv. Nice bunch of people there. And of course, most people will want to listen on demand. I used to say for your Monday morning commute. I don't know how many of you are commuting, but if you are, or maybe you just want to have the show so you can listen to it on your way from the fridge to the den, so you can watch the next Oprah episode. You can always download it from twit.tv, our website. You can always get it from youtube.com. What is that Skype 3 there? It looks like we were picking up satellite broadcasting. I don't know what's going on there. There's the website, twit.tv. Best thing to do would be get a podcast application and subscribe. That way you'll have all the episodes the minute they're available. And there's a whole bunch of other wonderful shows on the Twit Network. You might want to subscribe to them as well. Thanks, everybody. Have a wonderful evening. a wonderful week. We'll see you next time. Another Twit is in the can. Bye-bye.